ready? Let's settle down. We're getting started. Commissioner Drake's running late, and he asked me to start the meeting. We'll start with the pledge and the invocation. Ms. Clydesdale, will you lead us?
Father, we thank you for this day and all your many blessings. We thank you for allowing us to be here today, and we ask now that we, as we conduct your business, that it be done in the best interest of our citizens. And we ask that you would go with us, watch over us, and lead and guide us. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Make sure everybody's phone's off. I'd ask that you all check your phones and make sure they're turned off, please. And no talking in the audience, no talking, no responding to anything in the audience. And if you wish to speak, please state your name and spell your last name. Mr. Drake will be here in about 10 minutes. So let me. Call this meeting to order. All the commissioners except Mr. Drake are here by now, but Mr. Drake will be here in about 5 or 10 minutes. Do we have any elected officials in the audience? If you do, please raise your hand. Seeing none. Are there anybody here that is not going to be here when their agenda item comes up? If you need to speak on an agenda item, please come forward now, but be aware that you will not be able to speak at it if you're still here. Seeing none? Yes, sir. State your name and what agenda item you're speaking to.
My name's Todd Mazur, M-A-Z-U-R. And I'd like to speak about item 24, private use of beach. I'm a beachfront property owner in Walton County, and I want to share the details of my Gulffront property with the commission. There has been much disinformation regarding Dune Allen Beach area and the notion there is public beach south of beachfront houses east of Oyster Lake Outfall. There is no such public beach. As you know, the lawsuit, which I was formerly part of, is between private parties, the beachfront owners and Dune Allen Beach, Inc. The dispute is as to whether Dune Allen Beach conveyed all beachfront property to the beachfront property owners, or if Dune Allen Beach, Inc. still owns slivers of beach south of a few houses. I purchased my Gulffront property from the Allen family in 2020. It's known in the rental community as the Allen House, which was the last beachfront property that was owned by the Allen family. When the trustees of Dune Allen Beach, Inc. had listed the Gulffront property in 2019 under MLS 827-814. They described it as beachfront, waterfront, and Gulf front. They never mentioned a word about Duneallen Beach keeping any beachfront property between the house and the water line. And they sold the house for a beachfront price, not a beachfront view price. Only later did the trustees, at the urging of other members of the community, for the first time assert that Duneallen Beach retained slivers of property south of a few houses. Faced with potential liability for fraud and misrepresentation, the Allens and Duneallen Beach quickly settled with me deeding over disputed areas to the water line. No one is stealing our beaches. Commissioners should not sow such confusion for political purposes and stay out of private litigation. Indeed, some commissioners want to weigh in and support the Allens under the belief the Allens welcome the public to use any slivers of beach that they may still own. Yet when it comes to saving their own hide from fraud claim, the Allens conveyed any interest in the beach to me. The county should stay in its lane and not spend public tax dollars on private litigation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, state your name and address and spell your last name when you get here.
My name is Michael Vater, V as in Victor, A, T as in Tom, E-R, 270 Southwest Natura Avenue, Deerfield Beach, Florida. I'm the attorney for the Luttrells in the action related to number 24. It's a pleasure speaking to all y'all this afternoon. This is really a private dispute between citizens, and it's not my role as the attorney to tell the board what they can or cannot do. You know, thinking of Memorial Day yesterday, people fight across this country for freedoms. And one of the essential freedoms of this country, which differentiates itself from other countries across the globe, is the right to privacy. This is a dispute about someone's backyard, someone's private land. This isn't a dispute that involves the public. And an amicus brief is something that our courts and our judicial system allow to be done. It's very rare, but we do see it sometimes happen. And that's something that our judicial system allows to occur. But this is really a situation where my clients want to be able to live in peace. They don't want to experience nastiness or having people agitate them, because I think it's important that the board realize, you know, my clients as citizens of Walton County, they're experiencing situations even where people are calling restaurants asking that their food be poisoned. But this is a mature body. And I ask that this body help make this process respectful. You know, we live in the great United States, and the United States gives the opportunity for private citizens to have their disputes decided by the court system. And, you know, these people that are the agitators, they're outliers. We know that Walton County is one of the most beautiful places in the entire United States to live. We know that there's so many great things here in this county, and there's plenty of land available for those things. But you know, this is a situation in which we're looking at our society as a whole. And what does our society tell us? Our society is guided by those legal principles that were decided by our founding fathers over 250 years ago. And one of those essential is the right to privacy. So we seek civility, not hostility. You know, there's also an issue in terms of this land, in terms of the sand. And we ask that this body consider, you know, keeping the great natural beauty of the sand and not implementing artificial sand into the area. Again, that harms the natural sand. There is no erosion, and adding the artificial sand causes that type of problem. So all we're here to do is to say we trust the county to make the right decision, and we really appreciate the county's concern for this issue. But at the end of the day, it's a private issue between private citizens. And that's why we have courts to make those determinations. There are certain things, where the legislature and the legislative body makes the laws, but the court is there to help decide disputes. That's one of the great principles that we have here in the United States. And I appreciate your time and consideration. Thank you.
Who's next? Now, anybody that speaks now cannot speak when it's brought up. Do you understand that? Okay? In the back.
I'm going to be speaking on item 31. My name is Joanna Gregory, Gregory. I live up near Highway 2, near the solar farm monstrosity. And I'm just concerned about data centers coming in. R.C. Sproul once said that the greater the technology, the greater the chaos. And the more sophisticated the tools, the more sophisticated the violence. The technology that we're seeing today is growing at a pace that's it's incredibly concerning. I can't spend the entirety of my comment discussing the problems with AI and the lack of regulation. I'd just like to express my opposition to a data center coming to this county. It will disturb wildlife and deplete our water resources, and it will make it a luxury for us to have clean water. It'll cause cancer, health disorders, and it'll be so crippling to our population, it will be a nightmare. As a nurse, AI threatens my ability to make a living. As a mother, AI threatens my child's future. As a homemaker, AI threatens my ability to grow nourishment. And anybody that thinks AI is great has probably been sold oceanfront property in Arizona. It's not. So I just would like my county to be the difference, and I just wanted to speak on that, and I didn't want to interrupt the whole meeting. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next? Ms. Harris? Madam Clerk, Suzanne Harris.
Suzanne Harris. I'm sorry, my husband's in the hospital on hospice, so I'm just,
You have our condolences.
I'm just asking, can I speak on one thing that's not on the agenda but would be under public comment? On the garbage?
Okay. Yeah, that's fine, Ms. Harris, go ahead.
Thank you. I called Brad Drake about this last week as soon as the meeting was over because of the discrepancy in the garbage pickup. For example, the Mossy Head Community Center. And I offered to pay myself for Mossy Head Community Center to have garbage for the next 5 years, myself, because they do a great deal of things for the people up there that they're not able to get paid for, such as having the AA meeting there 3 days a week that they don't get any revenue for. And I couldn't understand why we quit picking it up when Ms. Rowe got up and talked about the fire stations that we quit picking it up from. And then I started seeing posts on Facebook about how, I think Brad forgot to tell the Mossy Head people that I had offered that. And so I started seeing posts on Facebook about how one was from Mossy Head, how they couldn't afford the garbage, and now it was being changed to where they had to have a dumpster. And so I did a public records request to see when we decided not to pick up for businesses or fire stations. And so I see that Billy McKee wrote an email. I was told this was going to be discussed today, and that's the only reason I left the hospital to come, that Billy McKee wrote some emails telling Caleb at Waste Management not to pick up the garbage for any business or fire station and our vacant lots, and I understand that. But the one thing I'd like to say about Mossy Head is to put a dumpster there, and I've talked to a lot of people in Mossy Head besides Brad, to make them have a dumpster rather than the 2 90-gallon cans would be really bad, because you know and I know every time Edgewater gets a construction dumpster parked in our driveway, everybody that goes up and down 98 thinks it's open day. They just put all their trash in that, and we'll pay to haul it off. And I'm just afraid that there will be more trash put into a dumpster than the 2 90-gallon cans, and that's really all they're asking for. So since y'all don't have it on the agenda today to discuss, I just wondered, was there any talk gonna be at any other meeting about picking up garbage at the fire stations and places like the Mossy Head thing? Because they let people use it for weddings or funerals, and they don't charge hardly anything. They don't charge enough to pay the electric bill. I know there's an owner that pays their insurance, and if she gets paid back along the year, that's a good thing. And I know there's another person up there that teaches school who helps pay the electric bill. And so that little building really can't afford it. Now, I don't know about the fire stations, but I don't know anything about them. But I am willing to pay the garbage for the next 5 years in advance for Mossy Head's little community center. Yes.
Chair.
He's first.
Since this is
I
in the
still have
south,
10 seconds when he started talking.
since this is in the south, we'll wait, we'll discuss this at the north end, but, because I believe all these, organizations are in the north. I don't think we have any in the south, but we'll talk about it at the June.
Okay, well, I know that some of them are here, and I know that I was asked to come, and that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to bring that up down here so that we know what we're doing, because I called Waste Management to offer to pay, and they told me you were having a meeting this Tuesday, and that I should not write my check until he thought y'all were getting it worked out.
It'll be on the north end meeting.
Brian,
Okay,
put
thank
it-
you.
Brian,
But-
Ms. Harris, first of all, my prayers are with you.
Oh, thank you, Tony.
And Brian, will you put that on the next agenda in the Definiac?
Correct. We're doing what you asked us at the last meeting, to gather information on what this would look like financially, who would be included, and other things that would surround nonprofits.
I think it was, nowhere in here was nonprofit mentioned. It was just businesses and fire stations and et cetera. So, Brad, I want to thank you for helping me the night I called about figuring out how I could pay for the garbage. I appreciate it.
Commissioner Anderson.
Go ahead, Mr. Curry.
For the folks that did make, Mr. Porter, if you want to give me a call later or stick around, I'd be glad to talk to you. I know some of you guys made a trip down here, so I'd be glad to listen to you. All right, thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Seeing no one else, we're on the consent now. Any commissioner have any number?
A few guests recognized.
Yeah, let's get this done first. Anybody have anything they want to take off consent?
I do want to pull one off just for discussion, Chair. 16. And wherever you would like to put it, sir, I'd appreciate it.
We'll put it,
Let's put it under the Tourism Department's regular agenda item.
okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Motion.
It's your show.
Motion to approve the consent agenda with that exception.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
All right. Does that bring us to our regular agenda?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair.
Oh,
Citizen request 19.
You want to recognize our quarterly employees?
Okay, we have some recognitions.
We do, we skip those.
All right, well, let's go back up to first, second, third, fourth, sixth item on the agenda, recognition of guests. We have our employee of the quarter, Michael Singletary. Michael, is Michael here?
Justin, you want to come up?
Let me see if he's in the back.
here he comes.
Huh?
Here they come.
Michael is the lead fabricator mechanist. He's receiving the Exceptional Customer Service Award for quarter one. Michael, congratulations. We appreciate your hard work and everything you do for us each and every day, and we hope that you accept our appreciation with this recognition.
Justin, you want to say something?
Justin Missledine for the record, for Baldwin County Fleet Maintenance. I'd just like to say that Michael is the epitome of the job done right the first time as an employee, from his professionalism to his work ethic to his willingness to help others. You're not going to find a better employee. It makes him a great asset to Walton County, and especially within the fleet department. He's a great asset to the team.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you, Justin. Michael, do you want to say anything?
Mr. Chair.
You You'll back your time. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
All right, also, we have another one. Yes, sir.
Justin.
If y'all will hang around, we're going to take a picture with you. Yeah,
Oh,
we'll-
Justin, come back. You trying to get away. Isn't it at the Grady Brown Park, the mural that Jim Cosin had originally done, wasn't Michael the one that was responsible for fixing that?
Michael
When
was.
they said they couldn't fix it?
Michael was the original, I guess you'd call it the artwork there in the bathroom. I know several places were reached out to as far as restoring it, said it couldn't be restored. Michael actually took it and, believe it or not, within a 2-day time frame, had it completely restored, back together, and ready to go back on the building, so.
Fantastic.
All right, don't go off too far because we're going to take a picture with you guys. We got one more. Sarah Morton, Administrative Assistant, Human Resources, Exceptional Customer Service Awards. Terry, you want to make the introduction?
Sure. Yeah, Sarah's one of my newer employees with Human Resources, and just like Justin said, she's absolutely fantastic. Anything that needs to be done throughout the county, within the department, she's my go-to person. She single-handedly put together our Health and Wellness Fair, which I thought was spectacular, and I couldn't ask for a better employee. So, Sarah?
I'm a little nervous. Thank you so much for having me. That's all I got.
Board, you want to, let's move up to the front and take a picture with our exemplary employees.
I'll go this way.
Okay, did we do 19 or no?
We have no.
Okay, citizen request, tab 19. Keith Comer, Payson Howard. Are they here? Go ahead. Madam Clerk, for the record, Keith Comer, Keithcomer, and Payson Howard, Payson Howard. You're recognized.
Good afternoon. My name is Frederique Barosset, B-E-R-O-S-E-T.
Go ahead and spell your first and last name, if you will.
First name Frederique, F-R-E-D-E-R-I-Q-U-E.
Yeah, thank you for spelling that. I had a different spelling in my head.
Me too.
So the project is regarding the preservation and restoration of the dune on at 2530 East County Highway 38, where under the boardwalk there are some erosion issues, where stabilizing the sand that is slowly collapsing at every rain event
is pretty critical. And in addition to that, adding sand fencing at the toe of the dune to connect the sand fencing that are on the properties on the east and west to help build some protective sand accumulation at the toe of the dune to limit erosion for future storm event. So that's the project.
It's county-owned land. The property's Gulfront, but the county owns the property from the top of the dune to the beach.
Okay, are there any questions by the board? Mr. Curry?
This is just the dunes itself, nothing in front of the dunes to the water line, because as we all know, we're running out of beach as it is. So I
No,
don't know.
it's at the toe, the sand fence is at the toe of the dune on the flat of the beach, but it still is slanted enough that it's well landward of where there is any driving tracks. For example, there is vegetation all in there, and it's connecting sand fencing that's already present on the properties on either side of their of the county property, but seaward of their house.
We don't have any pictures, do we, at all?
Ms. Gates, could you offer maybe a chronology of events, maybe some historical, provide some historical context and?
I can provide my analysis of my site visits, about as much as I can do. Just, the property that's in question is county property. The way that these properties are owned is that they own north of that county property line. There has been some historic release of properties to do sand fencing and other plantings. From my site visit that I did, evaluating several lots down adjacent to the county property, there is some erosion that's existing near the dune crossovers. That happens with any kind of construction that goes over dunes, so that's not unexpected, but it is a good thing to do plantings. From an environmental standpoint, it brings habitat as well as erosion control and those aspects. When it comes to the sand fencing, that's kind of up to you guys of whether or not you want to allow for sand fencing to be on the property at the toe of dune. That could potentially take part of the dry beach. At this time, I did not see any erosion at that toe of dune.
Chair,
Commissioner Jones?
I personally don't like the idea of taking any of the beach at all. So the option to where you just go above that, for me, would be fine.
So the planning under the boardwalk?
Yeah.
As long as it's not
Is
taking
that a
the
motion?
beach, that's a motion.
Second.
Well, let's be clear, it'd be to perform the work within the existing dune is what they're saying, as opposed to the work of the existing dune as well as the FDP permit. So you're approving just the existing dune?
Just the existing dune.
Okay.
Yep,
I'll second that.
I agree with that.
Does this accomplish what everyone's goal? This is in the best interest of the owner and the general public? Is there?
We're trying to keep major erosion from happening on the dune so that my mom's house is on a slab. We don't want that backing up and compromising our house.
I think that's what we're trying, as a board, we're trying to find a way to, one, make sure that the dune is salvaged, because, I mean, that's for the greater good in perpetuity. We want to protect Mother Nature in every way possible. At the same time, in doing that, we just want to make sure that our decisions are ones, or is a decision that would not forfeit any of the access or the use that the public has been accustomed to using. Are we losing any of that?
No, you're not,
No.
and you wouldn't even with the sand fencing. If you see the property on either side and even their property, there is vegetation already there where the sand fencing would be added. The idea of the sand fencing is that it's placed in an even manner across the property, capturing sand to build up a protective barrier in front of the last resort, which is that slope. The vegetation and the sand fence exists already on the property on both sides, so you're not taking any recreational beach. Nobody would be putting their beach chair that far up into the dune. You would be basically putting your beach chair in existing vegetation. So the sand fencing is at the toe of the dune, but would not be in the recreational area of the beach.
Okay, any
And-
additional questions from the board? Are we comfortable with Commissioner Johns' motion? So motion by Commissioner Johns and seconded by Commissioner Glidewell. Any discussion, questions? Anyone from the public? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Show it passes 5-0.
Chairman.
All right, Mr. Kellenberg, did you have an update on one of the tabs?
Number 16, we pulled off the consent agenda, so we might as well go ahead and take care of that one now.
Okay, was there one that was gonna be
Yep.
continued?
The planning director contacted me this morning, said that the applicant for the Huffman SSA will be asking for a continuance, so we might want to move that one up as well. I think there may be some people in the room that want to talk on that.
That's item 35.
Okay, let's dispose of 16 first. Commissioner Curry?
Thank you, Chair. 16, I guess I'm going to discuss the process. I mean, I don't know the person that is selected for this position. I didn't see a resume, I didn't see anything. She might be the best thing since sliced bread. I don't know that, but I know we have, has the TDC okayed this person first to come to us, or did we skip that process? Or?
So for the record, Matt Algren, Tourism Director. So the TDC does not take formal action on its own membership. So what I do, Commissioner Curry, as part of this process is I always share all of the applications with each member of the council, and then I have conversations with all of them to garner their feedback and thoughts on the applicant. So that did occur.
Is this the only person that applied for this?
No, there were 5 applicants total. Yes, sir.
And I might have missed an email. Did we get to see all 5 applications or no? Or you just
we
gave
can-
us the one that you chose?
Just, I brought forward the one that I'm making the recommendation to fill that vacancy. This is the process we've historically used when we've had a vacancy on the council.
Well, I don't want to recreate the wheel at this point, but I think we need to look into this. If we've already changed how we decide on other boards, from the county standpoint, county boards, ZBA, planning, so on and so forth, this seems like a one-off that is separate from how we do it from the county. I know TDT is separate or TDC is separate, but again, you're asking me to vote on something that I've only seen one person for. So if the other 4 like that, then that, okay, I understand, but if you're going to ask me for my 2 cents, I'm going to need more than just one applicant that's being shown to me. So,
Commissioner Anderson?
Yeah, this is how we've been doing it forever. This gives the TDC the council itself, some responsibility for it. I'm assuming they've approved your appointment,
Yes, sir.
and so I'll make a motion, we approve.
Second, and I'd just like to point out that this lady's the general manager at a hotel, and doesn't these seats have specific, like this is supposed to be a bed tax collector?
So this is our flex seat. So this seat
Needed.
can be an owner operator or just somebody who's essentially tourism adjacent or interested.
well, I'm sorry, Commissioner Anderson just said that the TDC okayed her, but I thought you just said.
In
they
my
didn't.
conversations, they all.
Oh, so you had separate conversations with each
Correct,
board member?
correct,
And they
which
said
I
they're all
always
okay
do.
with this?
Yes, sir.
Chair,
Commissioner Johns?
I just wanted to ask, we discussed this
Mhm.
prior, and you said the reason that you chose this individual is because that you needed someone that was a hotel representative, that we don't have one or haven't had one in quite some time. Is that right?
So the desire of the staff was to have a broader representation of accommodations on the council. So with that said, we have not had a voice of a hotelier on the TDC since 2017, 2018 timeframe. So there was a desire to have that voice represented, yes.
Thank you.
Well, I know it looks like it's evidently going to pass, but I'm just going to say that if you're going to come to me and ask me for my decision on something, to okay something, then I need to know all ingredients in the cake, not just telling me one thing. And she might be the best thing since sliced bread. I'm not saying, I have a problem with the process. I mean, We have a bunch of processes up here that we just went through redesigning on all of our boards. And this looks like a one-off that I don't really agree with that process, so.
Understood.
Yeah, and I don't
Absolutely.
disagree with you either, because we do have the process for all the other boards that do come through us and all of that. And so why this one is different, I'm really not sure. So, maybe, this one or in the future, that, we get copies of all of the resumes.
Absolutely.
Why don't we do this? I tend to agree. While I place significant value in your recommendations, I do think it would be fair if we have a list of applicants that come before us, and then, it's pointed out that staff makes recommendations for the following reasons for this purpose. That gives a lot of weight and credibility to the recommendation, but it still allows us flexibility to pull off the list. How many others applied for this, did you say?
So there were 5 applicants total.
So 5 applicants, and this was the recommendation?
Correct.
And I understand rightfully so, the nature of your advocacy for this person, and I may tend to agree, but I'm also picking up and recognizing that maybe that when these things happen in the future, let's have your recommendation, but let's have a list in totality of all of the applicants with their qualifications and, the positives, the things that they bring to the table, or what their, what demonstrates their strengths.
Absolutely.
So we have a motion to approve Ms. Knight by Commissioner Anderson and seconded by Commissioner Gladwell. Are there any additional questions, comments, anyone from the public? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay.
Nay on the basis of process.
Okay, show the motion passes 4-1 with Commissioner Curry in the dissent.
Thank you.
What, Clay, how do we change that? Can it be done just by understanding, or do we have to do something formal?
We'll bring back a revision to TDC bylaws that the board has previously approved that lays out that process.
Okay. Does that make everyone happy?
Thank you, Chair.
All right, let's skip over to number 35. Legislative item, the Huffman SSA and rezoning. Mr. Schoen, you're recognized.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Yes, today we did receive a request from the applicant to move this to the next available BCC meeting after this date for some additional time to draft and present a land use restriction, a land use restriction agreement on this site that deals specifically with the floodplain.
Is there any objection to continue? Was the ask for a continuance?
That's correct.
Okay, is there any objection to the continuance?
Well, I think that we have a room full of people here that
Yeah.
wanted to speak to this, and therefore I feel it's unfair to them to continue it.
And I agree.
Okay, as far as, if it's going to be continued, I guess we can proceed with public testimony, public comment?
They'll get to do so, but understand they will not get to do it at the next hearing. That's the problem. If you let them speak at one public hearing, you don't let them get to come back at another. And I know everybody, historically, that has not been preferred, given that there's not gonna be any presentation of the project, there's not gonna be any opportunity for back and forth with staff or the applicant.
So I'm
But if
gonna
that's
leave-
what the public wants, they can choose it.
I'm going to leave that up to the decision of those that are here for that particular project. Do you choose to exercise your right to speak today, or would you like to postpone it until the project actually comes up? So if you want to speak today, raise your hand. So we have one. If you would prefer to defer to the second half, how many would like to wait? So y'all want to Now, hold on, let me ask the attorney, is this as a collective, or is this individually? So if they speak today, they're individually, Or not.
That's right.
but so it's not a collective?
Well,
If
they can't come back as part of a collective and try to stack the time. We wouldn't let them do that. There's no two bites at the apple.
But we don't have to approve the continuance.
You do not have to prove the continuance, but I would note that technically, if it's a continuance request, either they're gonna speak on the continuance, which there's nothing to speak on, but continuing it or not, or you wait for the full public hearing. But if they wanna, if we don't continue it and we want to have them speak on that, they're welcome to do so. But they don't get to speak at the public hearing twice. We don't allow two bites of the apple ever in these.
Well, the email is dated the 26th, which is today, for this change. And it just seems unfair to the community when they have taken time from their busy schedules to be here. And just because they wanted to submit a land use restriction agreement, that's not changing what they're trying to do. So,
It's a great point.
If I could make a comment, and maybe Brooke Davis could come here too. She and I discussed this earlier, and under the LDC,
Madam Clerk, for the record, Gary Shipman.
yeah, Gary Shipman representing the Huffmans. The LDC, the way it's worded, if the property involves a floodplain, the way I read it, and Brooke agreed with me, we have to have the LURA approved with the land use change, meaning you have to review it and approve it as well. We don't have an agreed upon LURA, just like the public, I would think, if they're gonna comment on the application.
then why did we have it on the agenda if we weren't prepared?
Exactly.
Well, neither Brooke nor I were discussing it with the planners before now, but I believe that if it's heard without a LURA, if we won, they could appeal and it would be reversible, and if we lost, we could appeal, and it'd be reversible.
I'll be a little more
Because-
pointed. The board can't approve it without a LURA, is the simple reality.
So why
Right.
do we put all these time restraints in the process in order to be ready for D-Day? And then we get up here and a simple email can change it all. We can just send an email with 2 seconds left in the fourth quarter and we can go back to the beginning of the game.
That's why you get to vote, Commissioner. That's why y'all have the right to vote to approve or deny the continuance request.
Well, they shouldn't wait until the last minute to request this. They should have had it together if you were going to have it. You knew it was on the agenda.
Well, honestly, neither Brooke nor I had discussed the requirement of the LURA. I mean, frankly.
Why?
it did
If it's
not-
necessary, why wasn't it discussed?
It was not, didn't come up in the review.
Mr. Curry, Brooke Davis on behalf of the county. To be clear, I think part of the problem is the wording of the comprehensive plan language that we're talking about today. Our floodplain manager had looked at this, and what her understanding was essentially she thought that this would work as, it would have to be a condition for approval for the future land use map to be amended. So in my reading of it, as well as Mr. Shipman's, what we read it today and discussed, it looks like it's actually functions as a condition precedent, that it has to be done for you guys to even consider having this future land use change.
And I'm not going to disagree with you whatsoever, but I keep hearing understanding, intent, hope, and thought we should have. All those, it's very disappointing. I mean, we come up here and we're supposed to be professional. We have all these people in the audience here. We're ready to go. And then 2 seconds left in the game, we want to throw an email and a speed bump saying, well, we can't go any further because we didn't have a Laurel. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? As much knowledge and experience as an attorney and as a county, we come with this to the podium. Really?
Honestly, neither Brooke nor I have discussed it.
I know,
today.
I heard that already. I heard that already.
Y'all at least let him talk.
Oh, go ahead. I just backed away.
So it states in this email that, as you pointed out in our call this morning, public comments have arisen regarding this issue. So it was the public comments that you've heard that had you thinking about this, because otherwise you wouldn't have known. Is that correct?
The interpretation from the planners was that it was, like I said, it was something that would have to be done more on the back end. So it would have been a condition that they would have to create a land use restriction agreement if it was approved. But what we're reading is that it has to be done for you to even consider approval. If you read the comp plan language, it is very clear, and so that's why the public comments were taken seriously by Mr. Shipman's office, who contacted my office and said, hey, I think we have a problem. And I read through the comp plan policy this morning and I said, yeah, I agree. I think there is a problem. I think that the land use restriction agreement has to be in place in order for it to be considered by the commissioners.
So our own floodplain manager thought it could come in at the back end.
As a condition for approval, so that it would have to be done in order for development to be sought on the property. So it was a process concern of how it's written a little oddly, because it says in there, it says the developer to enter into. So it doesn't really read that it has to be done ahead of time, but I think in application, it's my opinion that it does have to be done ahead of time.
Can we get a third attorney opinion?
I don't think you can approve it without it. Now, does that mean you're required to deny it? If you hear it today, I think you have to deny it because you don't have a LURA. That's my opinion.
But since we've told you we're doing a LURA, I think if you deny it, I can appeal it because we've asked you to continue it. And I don't think,
I would note this about his request for continuance. If the board votes to deny it and the matter is appealed, the court's gonna ask what the prejudice was to anyone involved in us choosing in our capacity as a legislative body to not hear this today. So if we choose to deny the continuance, we need to put that on the record. Ultimately, the court may well, without saying you had to approve it or not, simply send it back, like most remands occur in these cases, and tell us to have the hearing with the LURA. So I would venture to say we're probably gonna hear it at some point in the future with the LURA, whether you deny the continuance and they reapply, whether you continue it, whether you deny it and they sue us. We are gonna hear this with a LURA at some point in the future, or we will never hear this. So we're gonna have to hear it with the LURA, is my position.
and honestly, my office, I'll take a little bit of blame. I had a talk with our planner, Melissa, this morning. And I told her, anytime we have a project where there's any flood zone or floodplain issue on the property, we have to do a LURA as part of our submittal. And it's funny, when I talked to Brooke's telling me the same thing, so she and I had the same thought. It's just apparently, we let the planners look at things without us, and I shouldn't have. But you have to have a LURA if there is any flood issue on the property. And the reason
For you to approve it.
Right, because you have to approve the LURA. We can't tell you, oh, well, we'll do a LURA after you approve the zoning
Okay.
change, because the zoning change is
I'd
already
like to ask you
approved.
another question. It states in here that you wanted to move it to the 6th of June, but then on the next page, it says you want to move it to the 30th of June. So which do we want to do?
I thought we were gonna move it to the next meeting, because it won't take that long to draft the LURA.
It will be the
but-
9th of June. No, there is no 6th of June, no matter
Yeah,
what.
I thought it was the 9th of June, but
Well, it says 6th on this meeting and on this email.
The 6th was the incorrect date that was stated by the applicant. The correct date is actually June 9th, but because the advertisement date has passed, it would have to be to June 30th.
And that puts it in the south end.
Okay.
Oh, so
Chair,
it
I
has
have
to
one
be
more question.
re-advertised, is that it?
Yes.
According to our planning director, because it's continued to a date certain, I don't believe it would need to be.
No, we are gonna
re-advertised.
re-advertise it because there's not a LURA noticed as part of the advertisement. So we do
Got it,
have to
okay.
comply with the case law.
I think the LURA would have to be included.
So that would be the 30th then.
It
Correct.
has to be, and it needs to be in the south end.
Chair, I
Okay.
do have one more question.
Go ahead.
How many, well, maybe this is going to show my naiveness here, but how many boards did this go through that this didn't come out? Did it go through planning?
Yes,
And it didn't come up?
didn't come up.
Did it go through technical review at all? Did it have to?
Stephen shaking his head no.
No? So it went through just one board?
If I may, Mr. Curry. So it does go through a technical review by staff.
Mhm.
It also goes through the Planning Commission, and it also comes here to the Board of County Commissioners. There were meeting minutes that were added from Planning Commission regarding the disagreement. It was a vote of 4-3. So that was brought to this meeting, given that conversation, that I felt that it would be important to add. I do want to also add to the record that our floodplain administrator did provide comments regarding specific sections in the Land Development Code that speak to development in floodplain areas. Some of that language is consistent with what we're seeing in terms of the LURA in the comprehensive plan. So there have been opportunities for the applicant to view that information, which we all have equal access to.
Okay, so we didn't bring this up during the planning phase of this at all? None of this came to mind, which we could have if we found out then, we would have still been in the first quarter of the game. Instead, we're here now. But so just to reassure, we went through at least 2 processes that didn't find this. And vetted extensively from what you just said. And we didn't find this and bring this to the attention at that time, correct?
Well, I do rely heavily on my floodplain administrator's comments. That was not something that was discussed
So that's a no.
earlier in the stages of this process. So, yeah.
And the planning commission, neither us nor any of the public comment was
But I,
anything about floodplain.
but I, oh, sorry, go ahead, Mr. Shipman.
But having it been brought to me today, it was our opinion, because you have to have Allura with the amendment that you vote on, that we couldn't go forward at this point.
And to add to that, and maybe Stephen and Brooke can speak to this a little bit better than I can, but it's my understanding that historically, this commission has, I guess, my understanding is that land use restriction agreements are discouraged because it's a type of contract zoning. Correct me if I'm wrong, in terms of my interpretation of that. No? Okay, okay. So that possibly could have been a reason why it was not brought to the attention of the reviewers at the beginning.
I'm just
So,
struggling
at
with.
least moving forward, we'll be clear
Well, I'm just
in
struggling
terms of this
that
requirement.
you're asking for this board's decision on something today prior to the last minute email. Isn't it the process to have all of this ready and presented, ready for us to vote on? And it seems like we didn't, we failed yet again on a process issue.
Well, I'd like to add too to that, if I may, that in the email, it makes it sound as though the only reason that we're where we are now is because public comments had arisen regarding the issue. So public comments is what got you thinking about it and realizing, so it kind of looks like
The public's running the show.
well, the public.
If they weren't here, we wouldn't know
If
about
they
it.
weren't worried about the floodplain issues, if they weren't worried about it, it wouldn't be a comment. So now that we know they're worried about it, now we realize we've got to have this other piece to it.
Thank you, public.
So, what's the fairest way to do this? To accept that there were last-minute things that were discovered that lawfully prevents the applicant from presenting this to us today, and then we go forward subject to an appeal? Or do we grant the continuance and offer a fair hearing where everybody gets to speak, present evidence, and voice their concerns? If we go that route, then we'll do that on June the 30th. Is that amenable to everyone?
I'll make a motion that we continue this to June 30th.
I second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Glidewell to continue the tab 35 to June 30, and seconded by Commissioner Anderson. Are there any questions at the board or comments?
I'd like to add one more comment. That this email goes on to say, we want to ensure our client's intent is for smart development. So that's in the email from your office, Mr. Shipman, that they want to make sure that that your client's intent is for smart development.
I don't know what Melissa sent you in an email. Frankly, I haven't read it. I can tell you what my intent was when I heard about it, which is on a zoning change, just like a development order, we can't go forward without the LURA because you have to approve the LURA. That's what's my reaction.
It just doesn't look good.
Well, I agree, it doesn't look good, and I'm not too happy about it. And I can tell you, my office will never have that happen again, or I doubt it after they heard me talk about it. And I got a feeling that Brooke is going to be saying the same thing in the planning department. If there is a flood zone area on a piece of property, whether it's a zoning or it's a development order, you got to have a LURA to address it. And y'all have to approve the LURA. So without the LURA, you can't approve it. And so I don't, you're right, it never should have even gotten here without a LURA. And I'll take part of the blame because I never should have allowed it. But I didn't pay attention to what Melissa was doing. And I don't think she thoroughly read, because the planners aren't qualified to interpret what these things are. But it's a condition preceding. And I'm sure Clay will chime in on that if you have questions. But condition preceding means it's just like in court in a lawsuit, like on a construction claim where they require us to go through a 558 pre-suit notice. We don't get to file a lawsuit until we do it. We should have filed it with the thing in the first place, but we didn't. So now we know.
And whatever's left over in terms of blame, I will take that. I don't read this.
Stephen, we're not trying to blame.
No.
you know, place blame.
But I'm going to explain here that I don't read that policy the same way that these attorneys do. I'm not a legal expert by any means. I read that policy is to say the board may approve it if the applicant agrees to do this. But that's, again, a mistake on my part. So
Very interesting.
that's, I think, where some of this confusion landed. Certainly, it took some of the public to wave some flags and say, hey. So that's why we're here currently.
Well, my biggest issue with the whole thing is, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but that the people took the time out of their day to be here.
Understood.
And that's an effort, you know, because there's a million other things people can be doing. And it's unfortunate because they thought they would make some progress here today. And now it's going to be pushed down the road to the end of June.
Yes.
So,
I think it's just another one of those things of, yet again, we find that there's actually some bad wording in an area that needs to be cleaned up, because this was not something that our floodplain manager and Stephen saw as an issue that needed to have legal input and legal interpretation. It looks to read, very clearly of, it just has to be done at some point. It doesn't read in and of itself that there's any confusion or any need for a legal interpretation. So that's why when we were presented with it today, legal opinions read it differently for the application of that actual comprehensive plan language, rather than just reading it word for word. Because sometimes there's difference in how it reads versus how it works in application. And I think that's where it changed the game quite a bit.
Well, just to be clear, we went through two processes, a planning board, a TRC, application, everything else, two experienced, well-knowledged attorneys, and a public comment is what caught it.
It was
And
not
I just,
done.
well, wait, and I just want to be clear also on this, that if you notice some of the legislators that are bringing some of these bills down, they're trying to take public input and public hearings out of the mix. So this is what you're going to get when you do that. I'm just going to tell you right now, and that's on the record.
Well, what it also shows, because there was no public comment about that particular issue at the planning commission, but what it showed me, and I'll take blame, I need to go behind my planner, and I guess Brooke has to go behind her planner. to make sure that they are, because planners aren't trained to read the law. And this is a legal interpretation which we've talked about a lot over the last couple of years, about what the law requires on all this stuff. You can't approve something conditioned on us actually writing it, because you may not like what we write.
Okay, so the question that's before us that has to be disposed of is where we are on the legal posture. So it's been presented that without the lure, we're not standing on concrete ground in legal posture. If we did it without the lure, we would be making the presentation standing on sand as far as being in legal posture. So it's a matter, so the question before the board is, how do we proceed? Do we take a timeout and address it on concrete ground, or do we go ahead and address it today with uncertainty? And so we have to make that decision. So we've got a motion and a second. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on the continuance? On the matter of continuance? So be mindful that your comments are not in the nature of the substantive issue. It's on why you feel like the meeting should or should not be continued.
Okay. My name's Dora Lazier. I live on 186 Waterside Lane.
You want to pull that down just a little bit?
I live on 186 Waterside Lane. Okay, I myself personally went to the code enforcement because they started, we've been lied to by these people ever since it started. They went and they didn't pull permits to do anything to the ground and stuff, but they started taking shrubs out, cutting down some trees. Okay, no, and so I went and filed a complaint because they never got a permit. So they're doing things that they don't get permits. They put out videos stating that they own the property when they do not. And they, and encouraging people to come down here and buy and all that. But the problem is that they have not been truthful from the very beginning. We're all here today because we protested. And I don't think you guys should be voting to go ahead and say, yeah, we'll extend this, whenever they have not done truthful things that they should have been doing. Because why didn't they go and get permits before they started doing anything? Because don't they know that they have to have permits? They have to have permits from the code enforcement. They have to have for clearing. They have to have permits from the wildlife. We have a lot of wildlife. We have gators that cross over out of the bayou into the pond. We have turtles and all kinds of stuff. They're talking about, without ever really giving true answers about anything, they're talking about wanting to use our road as an ingress and egress. Well, that's not right. We have wildlife that we don't run over them. We stop. All of my neighbors stop. So why are you guys wanting to let them continue when they have not done what they're supposed to do to start with? If they want to develop, why didn't they go get permits?
I think that's the question, is to put this in a posture for public hearing so that those issues can be fleshed out.
But we were at the first meeting, and stuff. And so that's why, we got curious, and I went out and find out if they had gotten permits, and they had not. But they had already started clearing. And there's a flood zone, that's right. So what's going to happen with all that in the end? Too many questions and them not doing what they're supposed to be doing, the developers, to start off with. So how do we know that this is just not a little scam being ran by them to continue with this? Because now they get to start back at square one, don't they?
Clay.
Respectfully, I think we're getting into the merits of the project. I mean, it's simple enough. I mean, for a continuance, they can oppose it. They're here, they want to speak on it today. They don't think it should be continued. I mean, we've covered a lot of those issues, as well as the fact that why didn't we know prior to today? Why didn't someone catch it? Those are the merits of the continuance, and whether or not it should or shouldn't be granted. But a lot of what she's bringing up, and her ultimate question there, is a focus on the actual merits of the project. And what I would say to the board is, if the board is going to hear this at some point in time, and these members of the public are going to have every opportunity to speak at some point in time, the fundamental question of how we get here, or how we got to this point, I think is a very important commentary that has to be addressed. I will refrain from offering too many of those conversations. I'll be glad to talk to each of the commissioners, with Mr. Schoen, with Mr. Kellenberger outside of this, about the way in which advertising occurs that may unduly force some of these issues to occur. We've had a few of these over the past 5 or 6 years based on how advertising is done that creates some of these issues that we might be able to clean up. None of that helps these people here today. But ultimately, it is up to the board. Does the board wish to continue it? If the board does not wish to continue it, then the applicant has to make a decision whether they withdraw the application or take a chance of having it denied and not being able to bring it back up, and then we go back through litigation and everything else.
Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Gladwin.
Can I ask Mr. Atkinson a question?
Sure.
Mr. Atkinson, didn't you say that if we fail to, and I don't like continuances either, but if we fail to grant the continuance, we probably will get sued, and we'll have to, at some point, hear it again in the future anyway?
Well, what I'm saying is you're going to hear it again either way, whether you get sued or not. It's not the lawsuit that I'm pointing out to you. I'm pointing out that if you deny the continuance, Mr. Shipman may walk right back up to their podium and say, on behalf of my client, I withdraw my application. He withdraws his application, and he turns around and refiles it tomorrow, and it's going to come right back up. It's just not going to be here at the end of June. It's going to be a little later. That's one option. If he doesn't want to do that, he files an appeal through a petition for writ of certiorari to the circuit court, asserts the board departed from its essential requirements of the law or otherwise, and said he wanted an opportunity to present LaLura. The board denied it. The court will either uphold our decision or they will not, but the court also has the option of simply saying, just go hear it. And they'll kick it back to us after a period of time, and we'll hear it again. So my point is, you're going to hear this project with Allura at some point in time in the future.
Chair,
It's just which process it takes to get there.
can I bring Stephen Schoen back up?
Sure.
I'd like to ask him. Stephen?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
had mentioned that you didn't see it the way they see it.
That's
being-
correct.
So you've been in that position for how long?
16 months, give or take.
But you've been in planning for how long?
About 7 years.
About 7 years. Have you ever seen that before, that it's required to have that in that instance?
Yes. We've taken LURAs forward with map amendments prior to this day, yes.
And have you done it where
Consistent.
you have not taken them forward?
We've, to my knowledge, any map amendment that has had a floodplain or other issues included a LURA to this date.
Okay. So you're in agreement that it needs to have the LURA?
I fully accept that I've misinterpreted that language in the past and agree with the attorneys now. Yeah.
And I'm going to take up for Stephen for a second. This is one of those classic years, and everybody appears heard me rail on the land development code being written. This is something that was written in a way to provide for Allura to help address floodplain issues. It is meant to be a tool in the county planning department's tool belt to address floodplain issues, which we all know exist.
Well, I'm just saying, it looks like it wasn't a big deal until they heard the public commenting about it, and then it became a big deal.
And I can't speak
That's
to
what-
why it was overlooked or why that was not the interpretation. I can tell you in the time since I've been at this board table, and I can tell you the first time I saw Allura, I'm like, what is this? I mean, because I don't do it in any of the cities. We don't. We deal with stormwater management, floodplain management very differently, but that's a comp plan difference. And our comp plan is worded the way it is. We have to live within our rules. But I can tell you, Stephen's correct. Whether his interpretation, which was that it is not a strict requirement, it is merely something that is available, or not, it is the way the county has consistently done it. And so what I am saying to this board is, I think if you approve this without it, I'll be as blunt as I can with this board. If this project got approved without a LURA, every single project that impacts a floodplain that comes after it's gonna say, well, you approved theirs without one, why do I have to do one? And we're about to open the door, and I can assure you there are a lot of development opportunities that are gonna wanna come forward with no LURA at all, just say, give me my approval. Now, all of a sudden, because the LURA is not contract zoning, I wanna go back to that, it is not. It is something statutorily authorized for us to do. And so because of that is one of the few areas where we get to negotiate some of these terms and get as close to forbidden contract zoning as possible. It's one of the few areas that we actually get to have a back and forth. So I don't know why in this case it did not occur. I don't know that anybody can give you that answer today. I guess from my point, I'm maybe being too pragmatic for my own good when I simply say, we're gonna hear it at some point with a LURA. That's what's gonna be required.
But it sounds like the LURA is designed to protect the county
It
from
is.
misuse or abuse of the wetlands. Is that a fair representation?
The language is specifically to remove density from the floodplain.
So, I mean, this is a good thing that we're arguing about.
And I would note, just when this first came up, Commissioner, you and Commissioner Anderson were the two that were on the board when I first heard about this. And so you'll recall, there was a lot of discussion about density transfers and issues of that nature. The LURA was the item that was presented to you by planning at the time. There was a methodology to make sure we didn't have wholesale density transfers, or somebody could take basically a fully wet piece of property, cluster on one small area of uplands and build a tower. So this was the functional application of LURAs historically.
I believe you had another question.
My question is going to be, okay, this is not, did they not realize that there was, the developers did not realize that there was flood zones?
Well, hold on, we're
From the
back
very
to,
beginning.
we're
From the
back,
from the very beginning. So,
you're talking
I went
about,
to the
you're going
first-
to the merits of the project, and what we're debating is,
right, I
is
understand what you're
the
debating.
continuance.
Right, but that's part of it. They didn't realize there was flood zones, and when we went to the first meeting, nobody there realized that you had to have certain things for a flood zone area? Is this all brand new to you guys?
Do you have do you have a response?
It looks like somebody made a mistake is the best answer that I think ever. And I've sat up here, 4 people take responses and accept responsibility.
Is there anyone else from the general public that wishes to speak on this?
If I could just touch on the last comment.
Sure.
So typically, and just like Ayanna mentioned, our floodplain manager provided a number of comments to protect the floodplain, right? This is just one that wasn't addressed, right? So during a map amendment process, impacts to the flood zone aren't typically understood, right? Because there's not a development application that's been submitted. So this particular policy in the comp plan serves to protect and to allow for that development to understand ahead of time that they're keeping that density out of the floodplain. So we certainly understood there was floodplain on the site. The protections were going to come at the development order stage. Now it's not.
All right, who's next?
They can only talk about it.
Right, this is only to the continuance. On why the project should or should not be
Yes.
continued.
My name is Elizabeth O'Brien, O'Brien. My property abuts the parcel in question. Personally, I'm okay with the continuance because I want to have more information about what their intentions are, and hopefully that will let me know a little bit more about that. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? All in favor of the motion to continue, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Show the item continued 4-1 with Commissioner Curry in the dissent.
3-2.
Okay, show the motion passes 3-2 with Commissioners Johns and Curry in the dissent. brings us to 20,
Yes, sir.
code compliance, tab 20.
Good afternoon, Tony Corman, Walden County Code Compliance. What we have before you today is a resolution for a mitigation of code fines that are in compliance that have not been collected.
Could you hold on just a second,
Sure.
Tony?
Go ahead.
So like I said, what we have before you is a resolution for a mitigation of some code fines. These are cases that are in compliance but still owe fines, so the violation has been corrected, but they still owe fines. If you remember, late last year, y'all passed a foreclosure process for properties that are non-homesteaded, but you also directed us to work with admin and legal to come up with this amnesty or mitigation process that we could try to move some of them along before we implemented the foreclosure process for non-homesteaded properties. So that's what this is. We sent it to you a week or so ago to give you a chance to look at it, met with most of you, and so we're here today to get that before you.
Chair?
You're recognized.
You have listed in here under item number 3, the effective date and automatic termination, and you say that it should automatically terminate November 30th. I think making that a little shorter would be a little better, maybe September 1 or something along those lines. And the other issue is, I'm not sure if I'm missing something here, but in section 2, under the mitigation percentage, it says that the violator will be permitted to pay 10% of the fine amount owed on the date the payment occurs, with the remaining balance forgiven. So where do we determine, so you're just saying whatever date they do before the termination date?
Yeah, whatever date, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so the issue is your fine accrues daily. So if somebody comes in today, it's one amount, today it's another amount. We're saying,
Okay.
you can't say, hey, I'm coming in to pay, what's my payoff amount? You get it today, and they come in 2 weeks from now. No, we want them paying whatever the actual day of fine due is, 10% of that amount, not what that is. So, I mean, if you ask to pay off your mortgage, your bank will give you a payoff letter good through a certain date, and if you pay them early, they're gonna keep a little interest. But we're just saying, on the day it's due, we're gonna calculate it and tell you. I would recommend, if you wanna shorten it though, I would say September 30th, 2026 would match up to our fiscal year.
Okay.
So whenever we're doing
But that-
fine and compliance money, it's always helpful to roll it attached to that. Melissa's not here, but I feel like somewhere she's smiling, saying that's what she would prefer.
That's fine. The other issue I wanted to ask about is the 10%, because when it goes to the magistrate, what typically happens there? Does he reduce it to 10%?
When they do a fine reduction before the magistrates, or the magistrate, typically it gets lowered to around that 10%. That's why we started there.
Would it be more incentive for them to finish this up if we reduce that to 5%?
That's very possible, yes.
So that we can clean up these things that have already become in compliance to get them off the books. And then moving forward, we're going to be a little stronger on making sure that things don't linger that long, right?
Well, I mean, we doing what we can do. Just to give you an update on some of that. This year so far, so through 8 months, we've collected about $133,000 more than we collected last year, and even more than that. Each year it's been going up some. So far in 8 months, we've collected about $171,500 in fines and fees. So it's gradually going up. So people, I think the process of passing the foreclosure process helped.
Is working.
So
Yeah, good.
So, anyway.
So do you think that 10% is appropriate, or would you like to see it a different percentage?
Well, it's one of those things where, you know, if it's 10 cents on the dollar, so, that's a 90% reduction.
Right.
It would still save them the headache of having to go before the magistrate, because it's possible that they go before the magistrate, and the magistrate reduces it, down to 15 or 12. There's no guarantees he's gonna do 10%. That's
Right.
just what it's been on the average. So, it could be more than that if they go to the magistrate. So it would still be a
good incentive.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
What's the outstanding amount right now with the ones in compliance that still have fines?
The ones that are in compliance that still owe fines and fees is, and this was, as of, May the 18th, is $952,108.
So about $1 million.
Yeah, close.
So then what is the outstanding balance on the others? I mean, the ones that still have fines, non-compliance?
So, of course, we've got that broken down into two categories. Homesteaded properties, right now that are still not in compliance. So every day this goes up, this changes every day. So as of the 18th of May, whenever we did the report, it was 4,201,047. Non-homesteaded properties was at 7,747,701.
So about
And again,
12.
that could be a little different today than it was on the 18th when we run the report
It's about 12 million outstanding overall.
overall.
So what do we do for the ones that are not in compliance that are homesteaded? What
Well,
other avenues do we have available?
Well, it still accrues fines daily. They have a lien on the property, so they can't sell it, they can't do anything with the property. The statutes do not allow for, us to foreclose on properties that are homesteaded. I think there is some things, in the statute that allows you to, do some corrections, the county doing some corrections, but I don't know that we want to get into that, but, that would be something that we'd have to discuss with legal and see what all would be.
What about the non-homesteaded? Did you give them the amount?
Yeah, the non-homesteaded was the, 7,747,701. Those are the properties
Repeat that again, you went a little fast, I didn't.
$7,747,701, and those are the properties that, by statute, would be up for the foreclosure.
Do we do anything towards that? Have we?
Well, y'all directed us, when we passed it, we used to, the county didn't have one, so we had it passed toward the end of last year, and y'all directed us to come up with this, mitigation, thing first, so we got that for you today. We get it passed. Once it expires and everybody's paid everything they can, then we'll move forward with the next step.
Why couldn't that be included in this?
What do you mean,
I mean, if they're not in compliant and they're not homesteaded, why couldn't that be included in this, what the next step for them would be?
Well, I mean, we can't, the fines accrue daily, so there is no 10% until you get it corrected.
Oh, no, I don't mean to fall under the same category. I mean just a separate category that identifies that, rather than having to wait another year to put that on paper.
Well, we can do whatever, legal says we're allowed to do, but, until that property comes into compliance, like I said, I think if it's non-homesteaded, the only other option we have other than going on to the property and fixing it yourself is the, foreclosure process.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, but we don't have that in writing, so we're not doing that.
You mean the foreclosure process?
Correct.
We do, yes.
We do, okay.
Yes, but y'all directed us to hold off. You directed the county administrator to hold off on any of that until we got this passed and got through this first. And then once we get through this, then that's whenever we start.
Do we have a timeline on that? Because, how long are we going to kick this down the road?
Well, the timeline is whatever y'all decide in this resolution.
I was referring to Brian, since that's what Donna, or the question
Okay.
was referring to Brian.
If y'all want to pull off the moratorium for foreclosures until you get a mediation plan, we can certainly do that.
Well, I just didn't know how far where we at on it.
We're ready to go
You
as
asked
soon
us-
as the board votes on how long they want a amnesty program. That's what you're basically creating is an amnesty. To bring your book back late, we're not gonna find your library program. As soon as that's done, we will be ready to move forward.
But you have three categories. You got the ones that are compliant, that still have fines. You have homestead and you have non-homestead. So are we, what are we talking about? What category are you talking about right now?
I'm talking about anybody that is statutorily eligible to be foreclosed, the board will be presented a list with legal's recommendation.
And that would be homestead properties?
No, we cannot
No.
foreclose
Okay,
on
so I just want to make
homestead.
sure, because
Well, no,
we're
but
talking
we
about
can't
three
foreclose-
categories.
Well, no, we cannot foreclose on homesteaded properties for code
Okay.
liens.
So
Gotta have a
the
waiver.
non-homestead was at 7 million, am I right? 7,800 something thousand?
Yes.
$7,747,000.
So those are the ones that we can take the next step on. So where are we at in that process? We have to do this one first that's before us
Based on
today?
the board's direction, when we approved that process, this board specifically said, don't take action until we look at what an amnesty program would look like. Code has now brought you an amnesty program back, so we've been sitting.
But the
on-
amnesty is on the ones that are in compliant but still have fines. We don't have an amnesty on the 7.8.
But
They can come in compliance. We're waiting for them to come in
Two
compliance.
things. For the purposes of whether you can foreclose, it does not matter if they are in compliance or not.
Oh, okay.
If they meet the statutory definition of having a lien on them for more than the step number of days required by Florida law in the board's adopted policy, we can begin foreclosure proceeding even if they are in compliance.
But the
And
whole
the answer was, let's
idea
get people in voluntary
is to
compliance.
get them in
And
compliance.
that's why we paused, because there is no way to distinguish between those unless you do this and give them a chance. And so the question, as I recall, I may be wrong about this, and somebody will correct me, I'm sure if I am, but I believe when we went around to the commissioners and talked about this, the feedback I got from several of you was, well, what if somebody now knows we're about to do it and they wanna get into compliance right now, don't we want that? And the answer, Tony's nodding, he remembers this conversation, was across the board, yeah, we want that, let's get them into compliance, and then let's get some break on their fees, we'll make some of our cost back, and we won't go through the litigation costs, we won't go through the headache of the foreclosure. Because one of the things you have to remember with the foreclosure process, and the reason I do think it's prudent to finish this first, is when you do this, you're gonna incur cost. You can turn around and we foreclose on it, it can be sold at the courthouse step, well, we're not going to bid $1 less than our fine, plus all of our costs. Ideally, somebody comes in and bids more than us and we get a huge check, and then while the lien goes away, the violation can be cited the next day and start again until they clean it up, so that's what you hope they're gonna do.
I just want to know where we're
Well,
at in the
worst
process.
case, we take it back, and I want everybody to be clear, if we take it back and we're sitting there with a property now that's off the tax rolls after foreclosure, with a code lien setting on it, you start opening yourself up to an ongoing exposure for why you're allowing code liens to exist on county-owned properties. Can't do that. And
There's
so
just a lot of moving parts, and I wanted to make sure where we were at with all those parts.
Commissioner Johns, as written, what was your suggested change?
To change the date on number 3 under your effective date and automatic termination from November 30th to September 30th.
Is everyone agreeable with that?
That's fine.
Okay, you want to make a motion to approve?
Yes.
Contingent upon?
Just one second, Mr. Chairman. Do you want to go from 10% to 5%? Because you talked about
Yeah, I did
that.
talk about that, but, I mean, I'm fine with that. Is that what you would like to do?
I mean,
I would keep it at 10.
I
Okay.
would too, to start with, anyway.
Okay, we'll keep it at 10% and make it September 30th. And the rest of it is fine.
is
So I
that a
make a
motion?
motion, yes, that we pass that with that one change of
Clerk,
the date.
are you comfortable with the motion as stated? Is there a second?
Commissioner Anderson.
Commissioner Anderson, any discussion, questions? Anyone from the audience? Ms. Howard?
Yeah, I just have a quick question, Tabitha Howard. Didn't we lose like 10 or 14 million dollars in code fines just like 8 months ago or something? What was that? Wasn't,
I don't know.
There's some that rolled off the books because
they wrote off the books like 14 million or something, if I recall.
That's part of the same stuff. These fines change daily.
But,
These fines that I was just talking about is 16 a day, I think, is what it, right now, the way it's, with the ones that are not in compliance, it goes up every day, 16,000 something.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there
months
was a date, Clay, there were so many years, it was a debate on if it was 10, 15, 20 years, and they all fell off.
Mhm.
And that's what it was, Tabitha, there was a set amount of anywhere from 14 to
And it
20
was
million
several
that I heard that
millions of
fell off.
dollars that
Yes,
the
14
county,
to 20 million in that range fell
it was
off
14 to 20.
because it passed the 8, 10-year mark, whatever that year mark was.
Yes. I'll have to go back
This
and
amount
watch
is
that.
part of that, I think you said that backwards.
Yeah, this amount is part of
So not all of that amount is gone. It's the outstanding balance. Part of that total amount is gone. This is what is left, is what.
Once it reaches 20 years, it's off the books. There's nothing,
Is that?
And there, well, there was an
Statute.
amount, there was an amount
I
that,
remember, it was like, it was in the millions.
yeah, there was an amount that was, I have several emails on
Tabitha.
Tabitha, I'd be glad
Thank
to
you.
send them to you.
Okay. Mr. Bagby, you recognize?
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that, Mr. Chairman. B-A-G-B-Y. This is why people are so frustrated. Half the things y'all are discussing today are processes that are broken in this county. This is a broken process. Yeah, 6 months ago, we said, let's start trying to work on it to fix it. And yes, we did lose more millions of dollars because they were over 20 years old. 35, another process that's broken. You could argue that 16 is another process broken. The question I have is there a lien on every single non-conforming property that's on your list today? Okay, because I want to get that for the record, because in 6 months, we'll be back here and we'll find out, well, we didn't lien all of them, and guess what? We have to write down 10% or we're going to lose more money. We got to stop, we need to take a breath, and we need to fix the processes in this county. The planning department, and I like them all, but those processes are broken. And they've been broken for a long time. And a lot of y'all have sat here and let those broken processes continue. And we've got to stop and just fix the processes and get this county back on track.
Well, I'd like to say that this is fixing the process. We've been working on this for a few months. I remember I brought in the plan to get this started and initiated. So we have done that. We also have.
and we appreciate that.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Show it passes 5-0. All right, let's take about a 12-minute, let's reconvene. 21, engineering. Chance.
Hello, Chance Powell, Walton County Engineering. Item number 21, this is a request to approve and authorize the chairman to sign change order number 1 to contract number 2335 with Chipola Engineering Group for design engineering services for the County Road 280. This is Bob Sykes Road there in Defuniak resurfacing project, increasing the contract amount by $22,710. What this is Chipola did the design of that I believe it's about 6.1 miles of Bob Sykes Road. Early on, it was determined that through the engineering cost estimate, it was going to exceed one cycle of the Scott grant. DOT, we discussed this with DOT. They agreed to split the project into 2 phases. That way it could cycle with 2 different grant cycles. This is being funded and paid for by DOT, just like the design was.
Any
Motion to
questions?
approve.
All right, we got a motion by Commissioner John, second by Commissioner Gladwell to approve. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show it passes 5-0.
Thank you.
22, planning.
Good afternoon again. This one snuck up on me. This is the request to approve and authorize the chairman to sign a memorandum of understanding. Whoop, that's the wrong one. This is the request to approve and authorize the chairman to sign a resolution authorizing the Walton County Planning, or Director of Planning and Development Services to administratively approve and sign development orders on behalf of Walton County for any projects that are determined by the Director of Plan and Development Services to qualify as Live Local Act projects. You all are familiar with the Live Local Act. One of the components of that act stipulates that projects satisfying the requirements of that act be approved administratively. This is a resolution to catch up with that statute.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gladwell, second by Commissioner Anderson. Are there any questions, comments? Anyone from the public? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Show it passes 4-1. Commissioner Curry in the dissent.
Can I ask?
Can I ask why?
Yeah,
I'm
that's what
sorry?
I was fixing to ask.
Well, I mean, I'm just, if we don't want to be board members up here anymore to where we have any decision-making abilities when it comes to development,
We have
then
nothing.
I guess we have.
The state doesn't give us any authority over
It's
local.
preempted.
Who made the bill?
State.
Then why are we even, why is he even up here asking for it then?
Why did we move to the magistrate process? that
I'm
voted
with you
for?
too. I'd rather have that back too. I already told you I'm on board with that.
The problem is that Live Local Act preempts us from hearing these, and it requires that we allow Mr. Schoen to approve them administratively. We don't
Yeah,
have
so we
any
don't have to hear
choice.
anything anymore.
So it's,
So if I could just provide a little information about the Live Local Act, maybe that'll help. I mean, I'm not, if that's not appropriate.
already
Well, I
passed.
mean,
It's
the
already
vote's
passed.
done, so I think
that-
it's probably,
Right.
Tab 23.
Okay, so I do have a handout that I'm going to pass out in one moment here. So this is, again, another approach, not another approach, it's the same approach with some slightly different figures based off the very initial conversations we had about a month ago. So this is a proposed neighborhood stabilization and compatibility. It's not a draft ordinance, this is just language that I'm hoping that we can kind of talk through. And I wanted to provide this information that our SwiftGov partners provided based on this instrument. It's got some purpose, thank you, Sabrina, and some refinements that I think will serve to improve this document once we can get through some of the implementation process. As you can see, Commissioner Johns, we reduced the minimum applicability right off the top from 9,000 down to 5,500 and 2 stories exceeding 7,500. So right away, that makes anything that's meeting this applicability standard applicable to these standards, the remainder of this document.
But I was looking for 5,500, period.
So, and that's great. Again, this is just a starting point.
Okay.
Yeah, none of this stuff is set in stone, right? This is just a path forward, if we can all, get behind it. So, and Brian, would you like one? Okay. What I may do is ask Sabrina to come up and kind of talk about this as well as some other things that she may want to talk to the board about if y'all are willing to listen. So what this does, again, is it creates a measure of compatibility, right? So if a new development comes in, a new development on a single-family residential lot comes in, and it's exceeding these thresholds right away, that means, okay, so you're gonna have to follow these special development standards. So what that does, again, I want to point out that some of this will be refined based on these suggestions through SwiftGov, provided everybody agrees with them. I think they're good suggestions. So right away, compatibility analysis is required. So that's gonna take into consideration all the development around this proposed single-family home, and it serves to reduce the parking, or increase the parking requirement from 1 to 900 to 1 to 750. It also establishes different floor area ratios depending on lot size. And it also establishes what's called a daylight plane. There's some other names for it, but essentially it's a vertical setback where the higher you go, it creates a 45-degree angle where it caps the height, right? So you can still get to that 50-foot cap, but it's going to be in the middle of the site and not on the edges of the site. And that serves to protect, light and other things that we all enjoy in our backyards. So this also serves to establish some metrics for compatibility, very simple, compatible, moderately compatible, and incompatible. So if you're compatible, you don't have to do anything. So if you come in at a 9,000 square foot home and you look in that compatibility area and the average of the bulk of those homes are 9,000 or more, or something similar to that, then you're compatible. Now, if you're doing that in a neighborhood that's got 2,400 square foot homes, and that's the average, then you're going to be probably considered incompatible, and you'll need to address some siting, some bulking and other things. If you're moderately compatible, then some of those compatibility measures will kick in. So you're gonna add some additional setbacks potentially, some additional landscaping. That daylight plane will kick in. So that's really the direction that this is going. In a way to preserve those existing neighborhoods to a degree that I think is measurable in many ways. But if you don't have any questions for me, I would like to ask Sabrina to come up because, again, she does have some good comments in here.
Chair,
Commissioner
Mayor,
Jones?
I do have questions for you, Stephen.
Great.
One of the things it mentions in here is it says the term single-family dwelling shall include single-family attached, single-family detached, and short-term vacation rental units. Why is short-term vacation rental units considered a single-family, just a single-family home?
Well, because my understanding is that we're preempted by the state, that we have to treat these like we would a single-family residence. If I'm wrong in that respect, I'm certainly open to any ways we can avoid that distinction. But I'd have to defer to Mr. Atkinson or another attorney.
Okay, and one other question. You're talking about the on-site parking standard. You're increasing it, 1 parking space per 750 square feet. At one time, we had talked about 900 square feet. Then it was reduced to 600, I believe, and now it's going up to 750.
It's actually the opposite. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's
But
all
just for
right.
clarity, it started at 1 to 600 and then went to 1 to 900. That's the current standard. So this would require more parking in a home. Instead of at 1 per 900, it would be 1 per 750.
Okay, is that going to be enough? Because we have parking problems all day long at these big monster homes.
Understanding that as well. I kind of touched on this before. I think whatever we do to address this, there's a smart engineer that can engineer around it, right? So we could put the standard down to 1 to 600, 1 to 500, and we're probably still going to see many of the same issues, right? So, and I said this before, I think addressing this through parking alone is certainly not the answer, right? It's got to be a sort of tiered approach. So the parking is one effort in that way. So if someone has a limited size of yard, a limited development potential, you know, and they can't get all that parking that's needed, the hope is that they'll reduce their square footage and they'll come into compliance with the parking. Now, again, we've seen car elevators and, you know, these really unique parking layouts, right? So it's kind of a balancing act that we have to find here, to do, excuse me. Yeah, is it enough? I'm not sure. The plain answer is I'm not sure if it's enough. Yeah, please.
Okay.
Madam Clerk, for the record, Sabrina Dugan.
Yes, Sabrina Dugan with SwiftGov. Hi, everyone. Good to see you. And yes, so parking. Actually, if you had any other suggestions on it, I think we're all ears. You know, we wanted to take this forward so we can hear your guys' thoughts and then go back with Clay and regroup. So we have seen other scenarios to where there are parking based on occupancy as well, if that was a direction. But I do think this direction might lead to probably a smaller square footage of the household itself. So I think that might be the approach this board might want to take. But also, if you guys did have another suggestion, we're all ears and we can go and revise it.
Do we include the square footage of, say, like the hallway, the kitchen, the dining room, things like that? Because
Yeah, it is based on heated and cooled space. So if it's air conditioned, it's counted in this calculation.
I think that's a problem, because they're not sleeping in the kitchen, they're not sleeping in the hallway, you know, they're not, so the way I see it is just we allow too many, just too many people, too little parking, no matter how you look at it right now.
Right, so I think we may be looking at it from two different ways in some respects. So the occupancy, while the 1 to 600 was directly related to that occupancy level, the occupancy is enforced by the fire code and the building code.
But can't we change that as far as what our requirements are, that we don't include things like
Right,
that's
so
not living, not sleeping area?
we absolutely could. And when it's based on like heads and beds, if we want to think about it from that perspective, I think what that would do though is potentially allow less parking. If we didn't include all the heated and cooled space, then that would result in less required parking spaces. So again, I'm happy to entertain any ideas, and if we want to kind of run some, you know, test cases and see what that looks like, that's a good thing to do.
Okay, thank you.
What we can do is we can take it back and we can create a few different scenarios, just examples as to the square footage per that dwelling unit, the total number of occupancy, and also total number of parking spaces, and then do an impervious surface calculation as well, so that way we can kind of show you guys different examples of what could lead to either larger houses or smaller ones. I think that might be an interesting exercise, maybe for the next BOCC. I know that's a quick turnaround timeline, but I think we can get that done together.
I think that's a great
Thank you.
first step.
Yeah.
A couple examples would be great.
Awesome. We'll make sure to prepare quite a few and try to send it over to everyone to get your thoughts and feedback prior as well.
That'd be great. Thank you.
And maybe what we could do is actually look at some recent developments of some of the applications that we received and put it in a real-time scenario, apply some of these standards to it and see what the result would be.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Can I
and
ask
that
you
w-
too, Stephen, about the 50-foot height limit? I know that years ago it was brought up 50 feet, and in my mind, 50 feet, that's 50 feet. But apparently there's a formula that you
There is.
use, which really, we built a 67.5-foot home based on a 50-foot, you know, max. So how does that happen? And can we fix that?
I mean, I think there's absolutely an avenue that we could move forward in some capacity that addresses single-family height. I think that's what we should be doing. I think currently 180 would hinder us in many respects there. I think there may be a possibility as it relates to this, how we could attempt to address some height, but again, that's gonna be something that I think we all need to wrap our heads around. Just to speak a little bit more on this, you know, we saw it in the EAR report from DPZ. You know, they recommended that we move down to 40-foot max for single family. I would even take that down to 36 if I had my druthers. I don't know why we would need to go higher, except in circumstances where there was already that sort of height, right? Then we would just be kind of in a precarious position at that point. But I absolutely understand the way that the code is written. It has this, you know, mean roof height where they can take, you know, where that height is from ground, from the grade below the structure, and it does serve to create this sort of not 50-foot height restriction, right? So I get the concern. It's something that we should address in the future, absolutely.
Thank you.
May I add something, sir?
Yeah, we recognize.
The methodology for height was put in place to not have all flat rooftop buildings.
Right. But I think you can have it at actually 50 feet without having flat rooftop buildings, because we have neighborhoods that have a reduced height limit, and they're not all flat.
We could say at peak elevation, I think, is that like the peak height is what you're talking about, to make sure there's no flat roofs?
It's my understanding of the methodology we have now was put in place so that somebody wouldn't say, okay, if you're gonna make it 50 foot, I'm gonna make it 4 stories with a flat roof. So we didn't have a community full of flat roofs.
That's my understanding as well. That's how it was explained to me. And I think what we've seen lends itself to the credibility of that argument, right? But there's not a lot of flat roofs there. Now, I think in some respects, we could have the both of best worlds, you know, but I think that's where we start talking about some aesthetic standards, and we're talking about scale and massing, and okay, you have to have so many reliefs in a roof line of 30 feet or more, and you know, it gets into some pretty heavy stuff. So, but again, we could even leave the same methodology, but reduce the height in the future when we have that ability, and that would probably work in a very similar way as we've seen.
Thank you.
And we might want to discuss that a bit further down the line as well. I'll defer to Mr. Atkinson about that, but yes, with the SB 180 currently, that one's going to be a hot one. So I do think, yes, from an outside perspective, looking in, we might want to wait on that one a little bit.
Thank you.
Where does that leave us?
They have direction, I believe. Are you clear, Mr. Schoen?
I'm not, no.
Okay.
What is my direction?
There's direction, but he needs a little more clarity.
No, I
That's
get some
all right.
examples, we're bringing some examples back based on real-life stuff. I didn't know if maybe you wanted to provide Sabrina a little more time to talk about some of the refinements or anything else. It's really up to you all.
No, come on. I think, don't you think?
But you,
Chair?
excuse me, but you do have direction. Everybody agrees that this is direction we've given to Stephen, right?
Yeah, we'll bring back some examples based on this language and see what it looks like.
I think
Do
if you
you
talk to
want-
us about the sheet maybe individually, if we have anything that we want to insert,
Yes.
then
Sabrina, that's what I was
That'd
gonna
be
suggest. When Mr. Shaw and I did this the first time, he and I both went around to the commissioners. I'll try to make myself available also to be there with Sabrina and Mr. Shaw, and we can go through this. I think we got this draft, made a lot of headway by us going one-on-one and trying to assimilate. We understand you're all gonna have different thoughts, but we tried to give as much of a consensus as we could. So if you're agreeable to that, I'll be glad to set up time with you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Sabrina.
sounds good to me.
All right, Mr. Atkinson, tab 24.
Thank you. This is an attempt at addressing the board's last 2 requests for resolutions. The resolution is fairly standard and straightforward. It does 5 things. The 5th is take effect immediately, so I'm only going to cover the main 4 that you're resolving. You affirm your support for the public's use of the beaches in Walton County. That is a much broader statement than affirming customary use or any other legal theory to beach access. It is the broadest concept of affirming the public's right to use beaches. You support the public being able to do so. That addresses Commissioner Glavell's motion last time. You similarly affirm your support to allow and create access to the beach for such use. So that's a companion. We talk about beach access. Well, beach access can either be the location of the physical boardwalk, it can be how the public gets to the beach, or how the public traverses the beach. Use and access go together, but they are separate. That's why we broke that into 2 paragraphs. Paragraphs 3 and 4 address the Dune Allen issue that came up at the meeting I was not present for. One says the board supports the rights and claims of any and all beachfront owner who allows the public to use the beach. That is a broad-based statement. The next statement is specifically related to Dune Allen Inc. The board, in adopting this resolution, specifically recognizes Dune Allen Inc. and its principals as an entity that has willingly and graciously shared use of the beach with non-owners and beachfront owners alike. So what we've done here is we've not entered into private litigation. We've not waded into a dispute between private parties. We've not taken a position in a court case. We've not undone anything this board has or hasn't done. What we have done is signified this board, post customary use repeal, broad-based support for public's use of the beach, in whatever form that may be. May it be a private claim? Yes. Can it be a public claim? Yes. Whatever those claims are. And then you specifically call out Dune Allen Inc. as one such beachfront owner that has graciously allowed neighborly behavior, share and share alike of the beach, so to speak. So what I did was I tried to merge the two together because I think they address both issues. And I think they are interrelated. We can split this into two separate resolutions, and you can have 1, 2, 3 in one, and then you have 3, 4, and then a new 3, which would be 5 in the other one.
I would just keep it all in one.
That was why I did it that way. I prefer one document versus two, but if so, I need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Gladwell, second by Commissioner Anderson. Is there discussion, questions? Anyone from the audience? Madam Clerk, for the record, Bob Brooke.
Madam Clerk, you know how to spell my last name. Thank you. I just have a question. Is this the alternative to the friend of the court or the?
That's what the board directed. That is the alternative the board asked us to bring back was a resolution.
Okay, this is the action from that last.
As well as from the meeting directly before this where Commissioner Gladwell asked for one dealing with public use. So it's an amalgamation of the two.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Who's next after this gentleman? Anyone? We have 1, 2 more.
Hello, my name is Andrew Pugliese. That's P as in Paul, Ugliese. I live in the Escada neighborhood of Santa Rosa Beach. If we're going to talk about, sharing with neighbors, we specifically use the Starworth Beach access on the west end of 38. Us and all of our neighbors and everybody that lives there where the infrastructure is built to use such beach accesses. I agree with allowing public use. I've been a resident of Okaloosa or Walton County my whole life. I just think we should be sharing the beach. We ride our bikes down there all the time. I'm just a lowly man. I'll never be able to purchase, the shoreline of a continent myself, but I think we all should. So it's all just support for, combating this and making sure that we all keep using our beaches. That's it.
Thank you. Who's next?
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Whitaker. It's Whittitter. I live at 5055 West County Highway 30A. I'd like to talk a little bit about the resolution. Dune Allen Inc. Is not the appropriate entity that you would want to put on that resolution. They don't have anything to do with the parcels that are east of the Lake Causeway walkover at all. Dune Allen Inc. was actually a company along with Dune Allen Venture Partners that came together to develop a community west of that area. So it's irrelevant what you guys have put on the resolution as the entity. You're going to need to rethink what you want to put there. The second thing is that beach access there that's just east of the parcels, the historic Dune Allen parcels that you guys are referencing in this whole resolution.
We're not referencing any parcels, just to be clear. We're talking about the beach as a whole, all 26.1 miles. This is not about one part of the beach.
Okay, well, Dune Allen Beach, Inc. is the entity that you most likely were trying to reference in the resolution. And they are specifically addressing parcels west of the Lake Causeway walkover. That Lake Causeway walkover, actually it was just a beach access. It's called Beach Access Number 2. It was conveyed in a warranty deed back in '91 from Dune Allen Inc., the entity that developed the property west of that area. And they conveyed that in order to get the plat approved. And it was plat on page 9 of book 9 in the county records. It wasn't donated, it wasn't purchased by the county, it's never been owned by the county. It's now conveyed to the county. That beach access was conveyed to the county in 1991, but it was never purchased by the county. Or it had nothing to do with Dune Allen Beach Inc. either. The private owners at Dune Allen Inc. and Dune Allen Joint Ventures conveyed that, like I said. That was Keith Howard was the owner, along with Gail Gordon. They put together the plat for that property west of the Lake Causeway walkover, and they were basically developing that neighborhood west of there. There was no physical walkover there until 2003. It was just a path that kind of led from 30A through the dune onto the beach. It was never really meant for heavy traffic. It was meant for fishing, walking, swimming, that kind of stuff. Now people bring, their household goods down there for the whole day. It's pretty interesting. I've got a picture of it from 1995, an aerial photograph that was taken on a survey of the entire geography across 30A. And it shows it as a tiny little path. There was nothing else there. Like I said, the walkover wasn't there until 2003. The other thing I wanted to hit on real quick is beach nourishment. I know my time ran out of time, but
Subject to the resolution either.
okay. We had some conversation in between there. Want to see if I can get maybe a point across here real quick?
He did not ask for it in advance, and
Didn't
nor did he
realize it.
designate he was here on behalf of the homeowners association.
I didn't realize that was a requirement.
Still our rules.
That's my fault, I guess.
Okay.
But anyways,
Well, we're out of time.
okay. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
If the board wishes to use Dune Allen Beach Inc. because you wish to confine it more, we can do so. I went back to the original title of what was developed in that area. Obviously, the specific entity in the litigation is Dune Allen Beach. There is no doubt about that. That was intentional on my part not to specify any active participant in litigation and go back historically. But if the board wishes to adopt the resolution by adding the word beach after Dune Allen, you can approve that without me bringing it back in another meeting. I'm perfectly fine with that. So that's up to you. It was meant to be more broad-based, based on what was presented at those
I
prior
think
two
that would be
meetings.
better.
I think we can do that.
Okay.
Who's next?
I'll add beach, and we just show that as part of the motion.
But you went from, see if I understand this, you went from a 26 point whatever mile resolution down, you're gonna.
No,
put beach
it's
in
gonna
there?
stay 26.1.
Okay,
In
okay.
paragraph 4, where we just specifically recognize one entity, if you wanna call out Dune Allen Beach as opposed to Dune Allen Inc., we can certainly do so. That was an intentional editorial decision I made, not with any negative reflection to anybody, but to the original parent companies back in that area. But I'm perfectly fine with it saying Dune Allen Beach Inc.
That's 6 one way and a half dozen the other.
I'm fine, but if that's what the board wants, y'all tell me, and I could add it in, the chairman could sign it tomorrow. It's
What,
easy.
whatever's broadest.
I think we're at the broadest.
There you go.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is John Howard. I'm a resident of Freeport, Howard. I think that there's some good things in the resolution that has some considerations. In particular, I know that you're referencing the Allens. You brought that up in the previous meetings. And sure enough, in the 2023 affidavit, CC did point out that there is Subdivision Beach, which apparently has been extended to the rest of it. That was actually given by her grandmother, Eula Allen, in 1949, and it's on this reference. All Subdivision Beach is actually west of the outfall. There is no subdivision beach east of the outfall. I'd also like to point out that there's a difference between access to the shoreline, which allows you to walk, swim, fish, protect turtle nests and migratory birds. This is very important. That is also very different than public beach and forced occupation against the will of the property owners by unlimited people and equipment. I'm very glad that you've reaffirmed the rights and claims of property owners in the resolution. That's very important. They have the right to remove trespassers, they have the right to peace and the right to enjoy their privacy and their property. I've already mentioned the difference of the Dunalan, which I believe Clay has done. I would also recommend that you buy beach, but not only buy beach on a timely manner. I went back into a couple of the last purchases. If we go back to the Stinky's purchase, it was purchased in 2021, and it was purchased for 2.8, and then just a few years later, less than 2 years, 3 months later, you paid an additional $4,350,000 that was not necessary. So let's go to the outfall that you purchased that property instead of having a chance to buy that at $4.2 million, you ended up paying over $8 million. Another waste of $4 million less than 3 years later. And I'm still trying to figure out what happened on Peter Russell's property. He bought it, I believe, at an auction for $1 million. I remember Commissioner Anderson swearing he'd never pay more than the $6 million appraisal. Ended up, I thought it was $12 million, but maybe $16 million, but it looks like the book says $18 million. And of course, that was signed, I guess, the Commissioner, the lawyer had it. Commissioner, well, wait a minute.
Hold on,
Stop
hold on.
time.
Matt, sir, just a second. Commissioner Anderson.
Mr. Howard, and you're right, it was 18 million. And if you'll look at the record, I voted against it. It was, and I still think it was too high.
It was
Thank you, sir.
18 million, but it was actually 10 million, correct, Clay? Because they showed it for the IRS purposes that it was an extra 8 million.
I think it was 9 and 9.
It was about 9.5, 9. It can't be a 50-50 split, so yes, that's, the actual cash money changed hands was just above $9 million.
Okay, Mr. Howard, you have 44 seconds.
Yes. So two different things. Number one, I'd like to take some of my time to try to cover some of the stuff that Mark was going to cover, and that is on the beach nourishment. You're arguing on the Dunalan Beach that this beach has gained 50 feet, and it's documented that you've got beach gain. Excuse me.
Hold on, stop this time.
None of this is before the board. If we do beach renourishment, it will be subject to public hearings. That's always part of what we have to do for the Army Corps. So per your own rules, beach renourishment is a public hearing that has to be dealt with at that time.
Does that mean you
Okay,
can't speak to it right now?
Yeah, that's what it means. Public comment on matters that are subject to public hearings must be done in the public hearings, not outside of that.
Then I
Those are
won't
the
talk
rules
about
you have
beach
adopted,
nourishment. I
and-
do have a statement to make, if I may, Clay, and continue, that if beach has gained 50 feet, there's no way it can be critically eroded. And with that, I'd like to go back to some statements that have been made on this board recently and address this to Clay. Clay, did you tell Danny prior to the meeting of April 28th that Lot 4 was most likely public property and not private?
I don't have an opinion on Lot 4 one way or the other. I will note that I believe there is a great deal of beach across all of Walton County for which there are legitimate questions of ownership to the mean high water line and always have been. Who owns that property, whether it is the state, the federal government, or private parties, is an open question in many parts of the county, in my opinion.
Understand in your previous email to Donna Johns, which was read in a previous a meeting, that you indicated that that was between two private properties and the county did not have a dog in the hunt.
In the
And with that, I
litigation,
yield.
I
Thank you.
stand by my position that the litigation did not sue the county, and therefore the county doesn't have a dog in that fight. Whether or not that fight includes anything else is a whole separate question.
Who's next? Ms. Day? Anyone after Ms. Day?
Good afternoon, Sarah Day, DAY. This is not simply a private disagreement between neighboring property owners. The issues being litigated have the potential to affect public shoreline rights and historic understandings of Florida coastal boundaries. When a case carries such heavy consequences that extend far beyond the parties involved, I believe the county has both a legitimate interest and a responsibility to ensure those broader public interests are represented and carefully considered. The county's role is not to favor one resident over another. Its role is to protect the interest of the community as a whole, including taxpayers, local businesses, visitors, and future generations who will also inherit the consequences of our decisions today. Regardless of where anyone stands on this case, I hope we can all agree on one principle. When litigation has the potential to shape the future of Walton County's shoreline for decades to come, it is appropriate for the county to remain engaged, informed, and willing to defend the broader public interest. And lastly, I'm not sure if all of you had the opportunity to watch the video I emailed you all last week. It involved a security guard hired by the homeowners, some of which are in this room, connected to the properties in question. While I was standing on public land, I was harassed to the point that I had to ultimately call the sheriff and code enforcement to come stand with me until they got there. It was frightening, completely unnecessary, and frankly, very unacceptable. This and other issues are precisely why this matters so deeply to so many people in this community. Thank you.
So we have a motion. Yes.
I'm just
State your name.
I'm Ken Stans, for the record. I'm just a regular old citizen of Walton County, and I just wanted to say that was exactly what needed to be said in this county right there. I liken it to, I don't know all the crap that went, the legal stuff, but I will say that as a resident of Walton County, and I know that many of you may agree with me up here, the beaches, the beaches are not a backyard, in my opinion. They're not a backyard. You know what I mean? They are for the residents and the people of this county. And people that want to put a backyard, it doesn't make any sense to me. So I just wanted to say that as living here for a long, long time. So thank you all.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show passes 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item I have is a request to schedule a special meeting before your June 9th meeting in the Peace of Paradise v. Walton litigation. I am hereby advising you pursuant to Florida statute, and I am in need of the board's advice concerning litigation strategy and the type of expenses to be incurred.
Motion by Commissioner Anderson, seconded by
Commissioner Gladwell.
Commissioner Gladwell. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show passes 5-0.
Need a motion to open the public hearing, and this will cover 26 and 27 concurrently.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Show that done without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For convenience, if we can go to item 27 on the scroll page. There, Billy, thank you, sir. Board members as well. I'm on 27. 26 was an initial proposal of what we may have to do to modify the LDC if the board was going to do this unilaterally. That will not need to be adopted. I'll address that in the motions you're going to make in a minute. Before you, item 27 is a final draft version of the revised Inlet Beach and Neighborhood Plan Ordinance that has been a collaborative effort between the neighbors, between the developer, and then certainly with input from county staff. I am presenting it to you as it was presented to them. As I jokingly told both attorneys, I'm going to do it this way, despite the fact they misspelled my last name. I did not forget how to spell my name, I promise. But with that being said, I wanted everybody to be clear. We'll clean that up before second reading for that typographical error, as well as we will clean up all the red lines that you see in this document. But I am presenting to you what was sent and what was approved. So what this does is two things. It clarifies that moving forward, limiting lodging uses in the Inlet Beach Neighborhood Plan includes a hotel, motel, or limited lodging as defined under VMU, which reduces that down to the standard bed and breakfast facilities. It gets rid of that expansive use that was apparently not the intention. It similarly removes the area that most of you would recognize north of 98 as 30 Avenue from the Inlet Beach Neighborhood Plan, which always was village mixed use and would otherwise be inconsistent there. That addresses the hotel rain issue. So long story short, everybody has gone through the process. There have been votes at the neighborhood plan area. Mr. Gary Hunter represents the developer. I don't see Gary here today. Oh, there's Gary Hunter. There, he slipped in behind Gary Shipman. So I apologize. And then Gary Shipman is here representing the Inlet Beach neighborhood. So neighborhood, as, not as an association, but as the entity that is interested in preserving the plan. This would constitute first reading. What I would ask for is a motion to hold first reading. Because of the changes we made, I do think it's going to require 2 readings, just to be clear about that, because it does affect the potential property rights of some of the zoning. We will do first reading today. As part of that motion, I would specifically request the board to allow us to have second reading, public hearing for adoption at the next board meeting, so that we can go ahead and do that in the north end, and do direct planning staff to move the Hotel Rain application forward, not waiting on this, so that it can be heard at the planning commission and not wait another 2 months.
Okay, so let me just make sure that I'm clear on what we're doing. We're taking the north side of 98 out of that neighborhood.
30 Avenue, that's specific.
Just 30
areas.
Avenue specifically?
On
Okay.
98, the frontage.
Okay.
So that's what we would need. The first off is we need a motion to hold first reading, advertise for second reading, public hearing, and adoption, and direct planning staff
Motion
to
as
proceed.
stated.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Johns, second by Commissioner Gladwell. Is there any discussion, questions?
I just want to, for the record, I know I've asked this 5 or 6 times, Clay. All parties involved are okay with what we're doing,
You gotta ask them to step up here, Mr. Shipman, if you would be so kind.
inclusive of residents.
Well, he represents the residents, who would be the primary one, so he can take.
The Inlet Beach Neighborhood
Is this
Association.
a compromise agreement?
Right, this was an agreement, Mr. Hunter and I worked out, and we submitted, we did public notice, we submitted it to, all the property owners that would be within the boundaries of the Inlet Beach Neighborhood Association. And I believed it passed, I think it was 87 or 86%.
Just below 88%, depending on what you do your decimals.
You know, it had to pass by 50% plus 1. I am a little concerned, I think, Clay, we're not doing 26 or 34, which would be,
Correct, those are gonna both be deleted as part of next motions.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be one that has been the advertisement here, but because this does clarify the uses of properties, I believe Florida statute is gonna require me to have that second reading.
yeah, because it took care of what we were calling the Scrivener's error, and it also took care of the I guess you call it shopping center, commercial area on.
The 98
on
fronting
90
commercial.
On 98.
So there you go. Mr. Hunter, anything to add? I mean, he represents the developer, I don't think they're opposed.
Motion to approve?
Well, you've got it made,
Yeah.
so that was his question.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Johns, second by Commissioner Gladwell. Any questions, discussion? Anyone from the audience? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Show it passes 5-0.
So we'll come back with second reading and formally adopt at the next meeting, providing advertising allows. I would need a motion to request the board to cancel and delete items 26 and 34 from this agenda because they're no longer needed.
Motion by Commissioner Anderson, seconded by
Johns.
Commissioner Johns.
Whatever.
All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Show it passes 5-0.
Motion to close the public hearing, please.
Motion by Commissioner Anderson, seconded by Commissioner
Johns.
Gladwell.
Oh.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Show that done without objection.
Need to open the next public hearing, please.
Motion by Commissioner Anderson, seconded by
Me.
Commissioner Gladwell.
Can we get them all in favor?
Show that done without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the burn ban update that was requested, the change to 22-10 to allow propane bonfires on the beach as an exception to the standard prohibitions.
Motion to
Question- Moved by Commissioner Gladwell,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Johns. Any questions, discussion? Anyone from the public?
Ken Stange, S-T-A-N-G-E. On this, so we're saying that during the prohibition, we're able to use propane, approved propane devices for fires, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, just wanted to verify that.
All in
Thank you.
favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show it passes 5-0.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Motion by Commissioner Gladwell, seconded by Commissioner Curry. Show that done without objection. All right, tab 29, Commissioner Curry, you recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I had already spoken to Brian and sent him a lot of emails, comments, and everything else like that. I just wanted, if Brian or Josh could kind of explain the whole process. You know, I've gotten emails where I'm showing up and the buses are taking up all the space and I can't get into the park anymore, so on and so forth. Can you, and I probably should have pulled this to begin with, but originally I did think it was a great idea. And I don't think it's a bad idea now. I just think there needs to be explanation publicly for folks so they understand. I know I sent you the link that has probably 200 comments on it by now, and 199 of them are in negative standing with the outcome. So if you could please, Brian, I appreciate it.
I'm going to defer to Mr. Irvin. He
Okay.
was intimate with the details of how the amendments got added to that contract.
Thank you, Josh.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Josh Irvin for the record. So, you know, this program has been going on for some time with the day use voucher program and the reimbursement to the state park system. Recognizing that there were a limited number of parking spaces at the Grayton Beach State Park, we felt like having our tram in a position to deliver people to and from that facility would be an exercise in getting more people to the beach. When you look at the Grayton day use capacity numbers, the one-time capacity is 554, but if you look at the number of parking spaces they have, it simply does not match that. And so Representative Abbott was very instrumental in this, was reached out to begin those conversations at the state level to see if there was an opportunity as part of the MOU process that we've been going through in the past to include some language to allow the trams in and out of the state parks. They did come to those terms, and as such, we brought that to you at our last board meeting. A lot of the issues that I see and have been responding to relate around the capacity issue. Topsail, I believe their day use, one-time use capacity is 2,400 people. Again, I stated Grayton Beach is 554. We simply do not have the capacity to bring in thousands of people every day. In fact, running every 30 minutes, I think we've calculated at max capacity, we'd be able to bring in about 254 people into the state park. So, you know, this is purely an exercise of getting more people to public beach without infrastructure improvements at the state parks. We are supplementing the cleaning services of those facilities. We've also brought our portable restroom trailer out to Grayton State Park to give more capacity there. So in a nutshell, that's what we've done here. We did have decent ridership this weekend, considering that it's a new program, not the best of weather. I think we had a little over 130 people ride in and out of the parks. So, you know, hopefully as we move forward, more people will take advantage of that and be able to access the park, whereas in normal years, unless you got there really early at Grayton in particular, you wouldn't have been able to.
Is there anybody being turned away at this point at Tops or the state park?
No, sir. In years past, it's been my understanding at Grayton Beach State Park, because of the limited number of parking spaces, when the parking lot became full, the park manager decided to go ahead and close the gate for all. In this year's operation, that park manager has agreed that, you know, we probably need to let pedestrians and bicyclists in. So moving forward, it's my understanding at Grayton State Park and at Topsail Hill Preserve State Park that anyone on foot or on bicycle will be able to come in regardless of that capacity number as it had been in years past.
I think that was one of the complaints that I read a few times, that they came up and got turned away. Even though there was cars coming out, they had to sit there and wait, I guess, maybe hour intervals as maybe the park ranger is checking accessibility or available space. Is that true or not?
Yeah, I can't really answer that. What I can say, though, based on my experience, is Grayton Beach State Park is a very popular park facility, and as such, people would fill up that parking lot pretty early on, and so unless someone left the parking space, it remained closed until that capacity was freed up.
Okay. Was there anything else that I sent you guys that was,
Well, I think one of the questions or comments is that we were going to disregard the land management plan capacity, and that's not the intent.
Okay.
The intent, I mean, the park is still going to practice the land management plan capacity, and they will make a decision on when they've reached that. Josh, how are they including the passengers in our bus? Are they counting each individual passenger? or-
They are, yes, sir. Yeah, and as part of the MOU, we pay them per passenger, unlike in a vehicle, it's a flat rate. So with our trams, they're paid per passenger. So yes, they're counting each individual person on the tram. And keep in mind too, with capacity numbers, it's easy to think about a bus pulling in, say with 14 people, but more than likely there's a bus coming out with some, amount of people on the tram. So it's not a one-way, capacity thing. We give it, then we take it away kind of thing. So.
Yeah, and I think that's where the struggle is. Some of these folks that, I haven't witnessed it, I'm just going by what they're telling me, that, if they're seeing people coming out and they're being held up until there's some kind of park check to see if they're allowed to come in. I don't know if that's based on people or it's based on parking. So, if you have one of our trams come out with 14 in it and I'm sitting there with you waiting to go, I have to wait an hour or whatever that time thing is before they come around and say, okay, well, you 14 can come in now. So, I don't know. It's just there was a lot of complaining going on, and that's why I wanted to forward it to you guys. So.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that particular situation. I did see, I believe the post you shared with me, an
Yes.
individual who was unable to launch his kayak, I think,
Yes.
because they were at capacity.
That was one of them, yes.
That did predate our MOU, so I haven't heard of any of those subsequent to that. Have they happened? It's possible, but I have not heard of those.
Okay.
In my conversations with Mr. Allen, the park manager there, he's very open to this idea, and I think sees it as a benefit to the park, and assured me that, the capacity numbers that are there, we're going to follow those, but he didn't feel like it was going to be a problem.
Okay. That's all I can ask for. I appreciate you guys diving into that. That was a lot of messages, so I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
30?
Let's see here.
Oh,
Oh. No, I didn't have a motion. Unless you want to say a public comment.
oh, yeah, we don't have a motion on the floor, so hold your comments just briefly, and then when we get to public comment, you'll have your time. Tab
Next.
30?
Yes, next item. I've discussed this with Melissa as well as Brian. I wanted to put, I guess, on the notepad with the next coming budget to look at a hiring freeze, not on anything, any replacement value or employee, or anybody who has already asked for an employee from the previous budget that has not received that employee yet. This is just for the next budget. I'd like to see what that would look like. I've also asked, I think Terry's given me the information on how many employees were asked for at the last budget, and now 6 months later, 8 months later, if we have not hired those folks yet, maybe that needs to be considered as well. So it's more or less a direction, or not even a direction, but something that we could tally when the first budget workshops start coming up, that we can look into a possible hiring freeze on the 2020. If we don't need the folks, I don't think we need to add just to add.
Yes,
So
sir.
that's all I have on that, Chair.
31, tab 31, Commissioner Gladwell, you're recognized.
Yes, sir. My first item, it's come up a great deal recently about data centers. And since the land that these would sit on is in the north, I think it's a particular threat to the north. Data centers use an inordinate amount of water, and they use an inordinate amount of electricity. And so, in the past, no reflection on anybody, just an observation, when these kind of things first arise, we're always hesitant to act. We tend to put it off and see what Tallahassee's going to do. and then Tallahassee preempts us, and we don't have an opportunity to be grandfathered as other counties do because we haven't acted. So on data centers, we have an opportunity to get ahead of this thing, and we have an opportunity to act prior to anything in Tallahassee that might preempt us, and at least we would have a shot at getting our ordinance grandfathered. So what I'm asking, and I'm making this a motion to instruct legal to bring us back at the earliest possible opportunity, a ordinance prohibiting data centers in Walton County, period.
Second.
So we have a motion, okay. Before we get to the parliamentary portion of this, let me ask the attorney, what options are available? I think what Commissioner Glidewell is describing is he wants the most strict standard applied. What tools do we have available to us to put restrictions on property that has already been purchased?
Very limited right now with Senate Bill 180, but we certainly have the ability, once that lifts, to define the type of uses allowed in various land use categories and zoning districts and define the special use conditions. So that would be where we would start, is looking at where we could go about limiting those. So it's not just what's purchased, it's what's on the ground. The other thing we would be very clear about is that under the Growth Management Act that the state of Florida's put into effect, we're supposed to be looking at our corridors, we're supposed to be looking at where development occurs, and so understanding where you would allow industrial development to occur of this nature, and this is something that's not necessarily directly akin to industrial development. We would need to look at that. The other thing we would look at, in all likelihood, is that certain uses of land may be more intensive than what the county and its infrastructure or its partners can reasonably provide. So, for instance, there are fire hazards, water use issues. We would be looking at DEP and Water Management District for support on those issues too. Try to bring back a comprehensive solution rather than just a blanket document that says we ban this, that may not be able to be sustainable.
Chairman, can I ask Mr. Sean?
Sure. And then my second question was going to be, and I think you were kind of touching on it, if we're addressing the properties that may have already been purchased, what about the most strict standards prior to purchase for future purposes or future development?
That's definitely something we would be looking at to try to do this as a wholesale solution.
Okay.
Mr. Sean?
I just don't want to leave any stone unturned.
No, this would be a blanket approach. That's why we want to hit it from multiple angles if we do this.
Mr. Sean, can you tell us if anybody in this county has applied for any kind of development order or anything pursuing a data center in this county?
I don't know off the top of my head. I've not heard anything, and knowing that it's a pretty hot button issue, I would expect that my staff would have brought it to me by now if one had, but I can absolutely do the research and send some information out to y'all.
Can we get your promise that if such an application is turned in, you will tell the board forthwith?
Absolutely.
So getting back to Mr. Adkisson, you can get us an ordinance.
I'll have something for you to look at your next meeting. It's not gonna be the final product, but it'll be something to keep us
And we would have to
moving.
have a public hearing, advertised.
Correct, but I'm gonna fast track your process, which would typically be 30 days down to 2 weeks to get you in the first reading of this, or to look at the first view of it.
Chair, may I? I was hoping that Commissioner Glidewell would put a little bit more teeth on it. I did put, which I don't disagree, I'll be voting that way anyway, but I'd like to see if we could put something together that would, I'm just going to go ahead and read what I put together. If we could add it to the resolution stating, be it further resolved that any organization, agency, authority, board, nonprofit entity, economic development group, contractor, consultant, or other entity receiving direct or indirect funding, grants, appropriations, incentives, or financial support from Walton County shall be prohibited from participating in facilitating, negotiating, advocating for, promoting, assisting with, or otherwise supporting the recruitment of development, citing permitting, expansion, or establishment of any data center project within Walton County. Be it further resolved that any county-funded entity found to have engaged in such activities, whether directly or indirectly, shall be subject to immediate review by the Walton County Board of County Commissioners and may have all county funding, appropriations, grants, contracts, sponsorships, or financial support suspended, terminated, or permanently revoked. Be it further resolved that this provision shall apply to all formal and informal negotiations, consulting efforts, incentive discussions, lobbying activities, marketing campaigns, land acquisition assistance, infrastructure coordination, or other actions intended to encourage or secure the location of a data center within Walton County. And the reason I put this together, because I did read some on it where the EDA at some point could not let us know about any kind of negotiations on a data center until it's too late. So I have copies of this. I'd like to
I thought it was the
read that,
EPA.
consider.
I heard it was the EDA, but then I heard it was the EPA. so-
Well, that's why I think you hear sometimes, well, we haven't seen the EDA this year, but I think that's why sometimes when they come up here that they can't tell us about
Right.
who's coming and
Right.
who's going. So I want to make sure that the data center
But
caveat is
EPA
in there
as
too.
well.
Okay. If we want to change that and put EPA as well, that's fine too. But I did make everybody a copy. If Commissioner Gladwell doesn't want to put that on his, then I would like to make a substitute motion.
Would you like me to bring that back as a companion resolution for the board to look at
Sure.
with the ordinance?
Sure. Perfect. Would you guys like a copy or no?
I would. And I kind of am interested in that middle paragraph there. It seems like you know something that I don't know.
Oh, no. I just reading Facebook and reading social media and reading the state
Reading Facebook
statute.
will get
and
you in
reading-
trouble.
Well, I'm reading everything that I can. I mean, I'm not going to sit up here and say I know everything about data centers.
So are you saying that you think there's a county-funded entity that's engaged in this activity?
Why if I'm just like he said, being proactive, getting on the front end. So if I found out that the EDA can withhold that information till the end, until they've already negotiated, then I got an issue with that.
But that's state law, or state, I mean, that's state.
Well, how come they come up here and say all the time that they can't tell us what's going on?
And-
because it could be a conflict or whatever? I just don't.
I
think this-
understand
I
you
think
got
this
an axe to
covers.
grind with the EDA.
No, I
but-
understand it. I
All
want
right,
to make
let's
sure
get-
that there's
let's
enough teeth
stay-
on this. No, if we're going to be against data centers, let's be against data centers.
No.
Let's not pander the voters.
All right, so
Could
we,
we just go do
we
the
have a
moratorium?
motion. We have a
No, we
motion.
can't do a moratorium.
We have a motion on the floor. That was,
To bring back a
Bring back
comparative.
the ordinance with the resolution that he referenced.
May I ask why we can't do a moratorium?
Senate Bill 180.
Okay.
It's been
When is that
approved.
going to be
We hope that
resolved?
we won't get a
August?
storm this year, and that'll take that 1 year limitation.
August, this August,
We're
okay.
crossing our fingers.
so we have a motion by Commissioner Gladwell and seconded by Commissioner Anderson. Any discussion? One from the public.
Hi, Tabitha Howard, and I myself also am very concerned about the AI data centers. And also, I just wanted to bring it up that, yes, county commissioners in Florida can call an emergency meeting to pass a resolution or an ordinance to determine there is an immediate danger to public health, safety, or welfare. And I do believe that there's just not enough knowledge that we even have with these data centers and the things that are coming out right now. And I'm not talking about just local things on Facebook. I'm talking about the news everywhere, all over the world. Everyone's very upset about these, and we need to move swiftly. And I think that waiting 2 more weeks just to get something written up to possibly vote on, I think that we need to do a meeting as quick as possible and either call an emergency meeting to get something put together, or so that it can be voted on the 9th, or whatever, the 9th in the Defuniak, or do it at that meeting, like
That's what we're
ASAP.
doing. And that's what we're doing. And I
Well,
agree with
Clay
you.
just said that he would bring it, that he would be able to bring it, but then you would have to go, he would present it, and that
Well, it'll be up to them.
it wouldn't be voted on that day, that it still would make the process go even longer. It needs to be done in a week.
When he
Do it.
presents it, we could vote on
Move
it when
swiftly.
he presents it.
If y'all determine it to be an emergency.
And
circumstance,
Danny,
I'm not gonna
you said that
allow it.
you wanted this. I don't know why you nodded your head no. Let's do it quick.
Can't,
If you find
And
it
I
to be
like
an
what Danny said, or what Dan had said. I like the way, the wording that you have it, because with the EPA and all of that, knowing.
we don't have any control over the EPA.
We
Well,
have control
we do
over
have
our
control
funding.
over, yes,
We have control over our funding that we can give to these folks. That's.
yes.
We don't fund the EPA.
Why are you fighting this, Danny?
Ms. Howard, please.
Where,
We
That's a
need
state
this
agency.
Hold
quickly.
on, hold on. Commissioner
It's a
Gladwell.
federal agency technically.
federal agency.
But
Commissioner
yes, we
Gladwell.
need this, and we need it immediately. So thank you very much. And Dan Curry, I really do appreciate you putting all that work together to help the community. Thank you.
Mr. Atkinson, can we do an emergency meeting?
I don't see a need to do an emergency meeting. I think putting it at your next meeting will give you ample opportunity to consider the issue. And then ultimately, at that point in time, I mean, you're talking about literally you're 2 weeks away from it to have it done. If you choose to adopt as an emergency ordinance that time, I will walk the board through that process.
Well, that would be my intent.
I will have it available to you.
May I ask you, there's, discussion about whether it's EDA or EPA. What role would EPA play in this?
The Environmental Protection Agency?
Yes. No, I mean, early on, like initially, they couldn't like approve
Only if there's
anything.
any federal regulatory approvals or permits issued to something of that nature, but they can't force us to approve something or not.
And neither can the EDA.
So, I mean, I hate to bring up another hot button topic, but my analogy off the top of my head is a landfill. States issue permits through DEP, EPA, if there's federal regulation involved across state lines. That still doesn't affect your ability to regulate at your local level. We're dealing with land development regulation fundamentally. We're gonna look at a number of things. So, give me a chance to present something to you. I am not gonna tell you you're not gonna have an ordinance. You probably are gonna have an ordinance in front of you. One thing I want an opportunity to talk to Mr. Schoen about, and I'm not gonna put him on the spot today, and I would respectfully ask the board not to either, is we are all sensitive to what happened with the solar farm 6 years ago, give or take. With that being said, having a director issue a determination in writing or advise the board of where something like that could or could not be allowed would have headed that entire issue off. Because a large number of members of the board did not believe that it was suitable for an ag use until they were told it was. At that point, the board voted, legislature undid everything after the fact, of course. But that being said, one of the things that I'm going to make sure planning is able to advise us on the 9th is where in Walton County could a data center go? So to Commissioner Drake's point, that is the full-scale approach to this. What permits are needed? We want to talk to Northwest Florida Water Management District and DEP about the consumptive use permits that exist in various parts of the county. Certainly, I can tell you right now, there's limitations on at least, I won't speak for regional and South Walton utilities, but I can speak for Defuniak, Paxton, and Freeport. There are limitations in all three of their consumptive use permits that allow how much water can be drawn out of the ground at any given time. That doesn't mean it couldn't happen, but I can say right now, based on what I know of data centers, and that's probably about what everybody does up here reading about them, the amount of water drawn would exceed any of those consumptive use permits day one, which would mean it would be disallowed. But we're gonna have a wholesale approach.
I just want to clear up something on the EDA. When I'm talking about HB 1007 and SB 484, one of the statements says some versions would allow economic development agencies to shield the end-use identity of the project for up to 12 months after filing. So that's what I don't want any negotiations going on behind the scenes, and if there is, I know we can't tell them what to do, but we can hold it, we have the responsibility of the purse. We can say, okay, well, if you're going to do that, then you don't need our funding. So that's why I put that in there, not that they can make a decision, but they can shield the identity of such entity until the very end. So I just wanted to clear that up. And that wasn't off Facebook.
Mark Walker, W-A-L-K-E-R. Yeah, I just wanted to address, I think Clay handled the water issue very, very well. It's really about the power grid too, for me. Power grids are planned in 20-year cycles. If they have to expedite, the cost skyrockets for these projects, and who pays for it? Ultimately, the end user, the customer. And not to mention, you know, possible blackouts and things like that that come with these data centers. So, yeah, it's something to think about, and I'm glad, Danny, you've made the motion, and Dan, you've followed up with something. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Blackwell?
The reason I brought this up is because of what happened with the solar farms. And we tried our best to fight that off, and the state took it out of our hands the next day. I think it's vital that we get ahead of this, that we get something on the books as fast as we can to make sure that this doesn't happen. Because if you think the solar farms are bad, you ain't seen nothing yet before you get a data center that's going to suck all the water out of the ground. So I don't want to play politics with this. I just want this to stop. I don't want this to come into Walton County. So I believe we can get something done quick, and it at least gives us a fighting chance should Tallahassee decide they want to preempt us out of something else. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Warren Whitaker, WHITAKER. Thank you, Commissioners, for allowing me a few minutes this afternoon. Kudos to you, but I like the language over there better. We got to have something strong. All you got to do is go look in Georgia. There's a small town that one of these centers come into, and people are leaving that place. They're miserable. The lights are on all the time. And the sad thing about it is, if you go back and read them, yeah, the front-end construction brings in thousands of people. The rear end, 10 to 12 maybe to run it, because all you need is a plumber and somebody knows how to run water and somebody knows go out and plug a card and plug a card. You don't need 100 people anymore. You're not gaining any jobs there. Besides, if you haven't read, they use coolant in their water, and then they're putting that back in our aquifer once they're done with the coolant in the water. Where's that going to go? It's going to go in our water systems. We need something with teeth, gentlemen and ladies. We need something that will stop this. If any way possible, we need something as soon as possible. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Herring? Madam Clerk, for the record, David Herring.
Thank you, gentlemen. This is near and dear to my heart. It's close to our farm. As Mr. Atkinson stated earlier, the aquifer is getting lower and lower and lower. In the farming communities, we can do limited amount of water and irrigation. They shut us off. You can pump so many gallons of water. So why would we have it allowed in any part of Walton County? Doesn't matter where it's sitting, it's still going to draw that same water. This water feeds the golden goose. You have no tourism. You have no beaches to worry about if you allow this to come into this county. You need to be mindful of this 4,500-acre solar facility. Where do you think they might be thinking about getting power because they say, well, we don't have the power for it? Where do you think about that they're going to add to these development orders that they've already got in place that says that they can add lithium storage on these solar facilities? So where do you think that might come from? So we really need to stop this. Don't worry about where they can put it at in this county. They don't need it in this county. They don't need it in Santa Rosa County. They don't need it in Okaloosa or to our north where our water travels from down to us. So everybody needs to stand up to these things. Our leaders need to stand up statewide, nationwide, to stop this. Thank you.
We don't need it in the panhandle, period. That's exactly right. And
You're recognized. Come on.
Hello, my name is Shelley Myers, and I just have one point to make, that the recent bill, Senate Bill, the my glasses, 44, I believe. 44 gives local authority the right over Senate Bill 180. It was signed into law by Governor DeSantis, and it is designed to specifically give local governments the say in prohibiting these bills. Again, that's Senate Bill 484. It gives local governments to maintain their authority over comprehensive planning and land development regulation for large-scale centers. And state water permits cannot be issued if the project violates local zoning or comprehensive plans. So I believe you have authority here where just don't let 180 keep you from doing the right thing.
That's why we're moving forward with the ordinance. The reference was as to a moratorium. 484 does not reference moratorium. It preserves local government's authority to implement zoning laws, which is why we'd be bringing the ordinance back.
There are a few counties that are talking about doing a moratorium. I think one has for a year, a temporary moratorium, so that they can study. I believe that is.
I think we're looking at doing a prohibition. I'd rather have a prohibition than a moratorium. Because
Yeah.
moratorium.
Nassau County. Nassau County has enacted a
Yeah.
one-year moratorium to study.
A prohibition,
Nassau County.
But to be, I mean, a prohibition, a permanent prohibition is, in my opinion, better than a temporary moratorium.
Absolutely. I agree with
I
you.
don't want a moratorium, I want a prohibition.
Thank y'all so much. We all do.
And the only reason I brought this, my addition to it was I don't want any backdoor dealings going on to catch us off guard because we're not privy to information until at the last minute. So I mean, if we're gonna have this shark in the water, let's give it as much teeth as we can. That's the only thing I was looking at.
All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Show it passes unanimously. Tab 32.
My second one is, as y'all know, we own 19 lots out in Oakwood Lakes, which is northwest of the Funiac, sort of south, west of Chelco and its complex. We got these allegedly through a tax deed. We've held them for a while. We've talked about giving them to Habitat for Humanity for a while, but nothing's ever been done. And there is a question about whether these lots are buildable. And so what I'm asking today is just simply to give direction to Mr. Kellenberger and Mr. Shawn to, one, start the process of figuring out how we can give these lots to Habitat, and two, if there are problems with being buildable, get them buildable.
Is that your
And
motion?
That's my, well, I don't, if we need them, do we need a motion?
Yes, please.
Motion, that's my
Second it.
motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Gladwell and a second by Commissioner Curry. Any discussion, questions? Anyone from the public? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show it passes unanimously. Tab 33.
And the last thing I have is there is an issue come up about workers being able to sort of make a U-turn on the beach to get to a work site. So I'll make the motion that we give Mr. Kellenberger the authority to approve these temporary permits with the understanding no fishing, no recreation, just simply getting to their work site. And that would be up to Mr. Kellenberger.
Is that county workers?
Yeah, I was just gonna.
No, not county workers.
Oh, right.
Construction
We
workers.
have the permits already.
Oh, we want to let the construction
For gr-
workers
I was joking.
drive on the beach?
How many permits are we looking at?
One or two.
Oh, that's it?
You can only do it on
Two.
Brayton.
To be clear, we're talking about the two areas where we already allow beach driving by recreational permit.
Right.
Oh, if we're just looking at one or two, I'm good with that. I thought this was gonna be a recreation of the wheel and everybody's gonna be out there with bulldozers.
Oh, no.
I'll second that.
Any discussion, questions, public? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. show it passes 5-0.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
All right. Let's take a 10-minute break and we'll come back and do public comments. Let's come back at let's do a short one. Let's go 4:15. We'll be back for public comment. All right, we'll enter into public comments. Who all's planning to speak? Got one, 2, 3. All right, Ms. Howard, you're up.
Can I take 60 seconds just to update on Villa Tasso before they start? Oh, that's fine. You want to do that way? That's fine.
Hi, Tabitha Howard, and I just have a question, just because we're going over so many bills and things, and I hadn't really noticed all the stuff that is going on, but I guess with the magistrate and everything, we all need to be updated with what is going on. And Brian had brought it to the attention that we do need to learn more. So I was just curious, the gentleman that should have been here today was not, but I know that the last time that he had spoken, the liaison, our government liaison, he had mentioned a female's name that actually he was getting a lot of the information from. So I was just curious, because I would like her information so that I can follow through with her, because this is something that's is much needed. That way I can keep updated. No, I'm talking about Scott Brannon. Yes. The woman that he was referring about, that he was getting information from at the last meeting, because he was. Oh, Kelly. Okay, yeah, I just knew it was a female's name. And then, how do I get that information? Yes, sir. Okay, thanks.
Who's next? You've been waiting patiently.
Thank you. My name is Marianne Hickson. I'm going back to number 29, the beach shuttles. It's a new process, and I think we should collect data, and we should publish that data. There are a lot of rumors going on, and you talked about a lot of emotional emails. The numbers that he provided today didn't seem as bad. If we can collect that data now with a new process and show the people that this is either a good process or a bad process, we'll know much sooner. What do we need to do to collect data and publish it somewhere where people can see it and you guys can use it, at least for the summer?
Good question. We already collect data, and I'll have them publish it on our Visit South Walton website
Okay.
under the beach operations page.
Okay, thank you
And so
very
we'll
much.
have
That'll
nice-
help answer a lot of
Yeah.
questions.
Now, let me be clear, it'll be the data of the number of riders on our bus.
Mhm.
We don't collect the data for the state parks as total admission. Okay, so there's
Okay.
other people that go into the state park that won't be riding our buses.
How can we work, because we're working with the state already, so we must have some kind of a memorandum of agreement with them for this. Is it possible for them to provide us, because the important thing to me is, and to all the people who are complaining about this, is this causing a situation where it's causing the beaches to close for the rest of us, the state parks to close for the rest of us more often? So if we're only getting 100 people on the shuttle and Topsail Beach didn't close, then it's kind of a non-issue, right?
Sort of.
So is there a way we can work with the state to help us understand when the beaches are closed and how many people were
Let me,
admitted?
Yeah, Mr. Irvin, come on up, please. He's got some information. Josh Irvin is our beach operations director and is the person that is managing this whole program.
Good afternoon again. So those numbers are included in the invoices that will be submitted, as I understand, from the state, because they're counting our riders every time they come in, separate from the day-use vehicles like you and I would drive. So we should have, at the end of the season, a very robust number of people that we bust in to the state park.
That still doesn't link us to the when it closes for capacity, those would be the days that I would be interested in, how many people were shuttled if we closed for capacity,
Sure.
especially if it's not on the weekends or holidays.
Right. You know, as far as when they close, that's going to be up to the park manager to determine that. Based on the conversations that I've had with the Grayton State Park manager, he did not feel like that was going to be a problem. Not to say it won't be a problem, but considering the capacity numbers of Grayton Beach State Park at one time, 554, given the limited number of parking spaces that they have, I would like to think, just based on math, it would be very unlikely for us to hit those capacity numbers with the tram.
Ma'am, at the conclusion of this meeting, why don't you and I have a conversation? and let's see if I can help you a little bit. All right?
My point is how we feel and how we think this is going to work and how it's actually working and how people are experiencing it are maybe different.
Okay.
So collecting data and posting it so people can see, that could avoid a lot of problems.
Catch me before I leave, okay? Anyone else? Seeing none, Commissioner Anderson moves we rise. Should I done without
Chair-
objection?
Chair-
Oh, I'm
Chair-
sorry. Commissioner Curry, you have an update you want to offer?
Yes, Villa Tasso did have a tornado, and I'm glad I see Mr. Goldberg, if you'd like to come up, just in case you want to slap my hand in case I say something wrong. But after the tornado went through, I did go out there, and I just want to give praise and appreciation to Mr. Goldberg's folks, Public Works, our Walton County Sheriff's Office, our fire department. I've never seen so many chainsaws right after a tornado go through in my entire life. They were like little beavers out there just going to town. I went out there this morning before this meeting, and the main part of the roads are clear to get through, but I think the issue is going to be once Public Works comes by and grabs all that stuff out of the right-of-way, now you got to deal with all the debris that's in the yards, in the backyards, and we cannot go on private property. So I'm trying to reach out to get some volunteers over the next few days to go and help some of these folks bring that stuff to the right-of-way so the Public Works can go out there and do their thing. But I just want to, I saw you there, and I just wanted to personally and publicly thank you. I wish Buddy and everybody else was here. Outstanding job. And everybody out there that I spoke with, there was, thank God, there was no injuries, and they all praised you guys up and down. So I just want to make sure you guys got that word. So,
I
thank
appreciate
you.
that. And I wouldn't slap your hand, I'd just have you do the MRE cooking contest.
No, I'm done. I'm done.
National Weather Service did confirm it was a tornado. They're sending an assessment team tomorrow to go to the area. Katie just came back from checking things out again. The right-of-ways, as you said, are fine. We're working with Public Works. They know they're going to need to make multiple passes because of all the debris coming out of the yards. She's also contacting the Walton County Baptist Association, Team Rubicon, because they can do a right of entry and go onto private property. So we'll see if we can get some of those forces out there to help do that with the homeowners as well. We had 14 structures that were damaged. 2 of them were major, and Red Cross is working with them to get those folks taken care of. So we'll be out there for the next couple of days, kind of helping out and making sure things are getting done well.
And a special thanks to Corey and I think it's Major Parks. I had called them after the folks came up to me, and we had like a little meeting there on, I forgot the name of that road now, but the main area where it was, and they wanted to know about inmate help. So I reached out to Corey with the Walton County Sheriff's Office and Major Parks and all them. They said, hey, we'll send a crew out there, and as far as I know, they went out there today, so hats off to the Walton County Sheriff's Office as well.
Thanks.
So.
And I also sent an email to everybody. There's a link for pictures and video. There's also a link for the map of the damage. You can see the track of the tornado. So that's in your inbox, ready for you to look at. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the kind words, and I'll make sure that I pass that on.
Please.
All right, thank you.
We are adjourned.